Chapter 10:27. Immortal Dew and Shadow Clone. The two heavenly swords were mixed with a majestic heavenly might. The entire sky shook violently as if it was about to be overturned. The sound was deafening. The two-sword chi slammed down and destroyed the dense ghost chi around the gate of hell. With a wild roar, the sword chi flew toward the people from the gate of hell. Ghost Cold's expression changed slightly. He never thought that Mu Yu and Tian Ran swords could display such terrifying power. The combination of these two heavenly swords was enough to threaten him. Ghost Hand seals the sky. Gue Yuhan didn't dare to be careless. With a shout, he and the other three from the Ghoul Gate protected the ghost flag. The ghost flag vibrated again, emitting an unbearable howl as if thousands of ants were corroding a tree. All sorts of sharp noises came from the ghost flag. If one's cultivation wasn't strong enough, they would have their eardrums pierced by these noises, never to be able to recognize anything. Gue Chi was protected in the middle by the four of them. Sinister ghost chi rolled out from every member of the ghost sect, intertwining with each other in the air. It was evil, cold, and filled with endless evil. At the same time, countless vengeful spirits formed a transparent white bone claw. The bone claw was 3,000 meters long, and there were many tiny vengeful spirits struggling to break free from each bone. With a single claw, it was as if even a towering mountain would be crushed into dust by this bone claw. Ghost Hand seals the sky, the domain ability sealed in the ghost flag. Boom! The sword chi and the bone claw fiercely collided, erupting with a terrifying fluctuation. The sword chi and ghost chi exploded with a loud bang, spreading out in all directions. The ground within a radius of 1,000 miles exploded once again. A layer of chi wave mixed with another layer of chi wave was like a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas, destroying the heavens and earth. The entire ground was constantly shaking, and the ground had long been damaged beyond repair. There were countless ravines and ravines, causing everyone to be shocked. Ghost Cold was indeed a master who was half a step into the Great Ascension stage. His ghost claw blasted out, and there was a faint Great Ascension stage domain ability on it. This domain ability sealed the entire space and forcibly blocked the power of the two heavenly swords. However, the powerful impact also directly hit the four of them. With Ghost Cold as the leader, the four people from the Gate of Hell all turned pale at the same time. Their throats were already filled with blood. What a powerful sky sword. The sword Shadow Dust Wind truly lives up to its reputation. Ghost Cold and the other three forcefully swallowed the blood. Then, the four of them retreated. Ghost Chi rolled out from their bodies again, stabilizing the powerful ghost flag that Ghost Cold refined. Ghost Cold was half a step into the Deshang stage, and his strength was invincible in the Crossing Calamity stage, not to mention that there were three other people in the Crossing Calamity stage. However, the four of them were facing the two heavenly swords of Mu Yu and Tian Ran together, and they were still faintly at a disadvantage. It must have something to do with the loss of their twins. Even so, Gue Yuhan's cultivation was higher than Mu Yu and Tian Ran's, not to mention that there were three other people who were not weak. Yet, they were only able to fight to a draw with the two heavenly swords. It was unbelievable. Mu Yu and Tian Ran joined forces. Although they blocked the ghost claw, their faces were slightly pale. After all, the strength of the other party was stronger than them. Although they were not weak, they also consumed a lot of spiritual power. Ghost Gathering. Ghost Cold shouted again. He stepped out and stood in the middle. The powerful aura of the Crossing Calamity, Stage 9, burst out from his body. Countless white souls floated around him. The ferocious souls screamed miserably. It was extremely terrifying. Ghost and Shadow and the other two immediately understood. Powerful, resentful souls also burst out from their bodies. These resentful souls were all refined by them. At this time, they were summoned by them. All the resentful souls gathered on Ghost Cold's body. The momentum of Ghost Cold's body became stronger and stronger. It was like an endless ghost cave, imprisoning countless resentful souls. These vengeful spirits roared and rolled towards the ghost flag in front of Gui Yuhan's chest. Ghost hands sealing the sky. The terrifying power of the field domain poured out again. Countless faces of resentful souls appeared on the ghost flag, as if they were trying to break free from the ghost flag. However, gradually, the ghost flag gradually evolved and formed a pale bone claw again. Different from the bone claw that was summoned in a hurry, just now, this bone claw seemed to break the void. The surrounding air seemed to be unable to bear the power of the bone claw, and it constantly produced air currents. As soon as the bone claw appeared, the resentful souls reverberated in all directions. The wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves resounded through the sky. The power of the field domain actually suppressed the power of the two heavenly swords. However, Ghost Cold's face also became extremely pale. Although he was half a step into the great vehicle stage, he was still not at the great vehicle stage. He had not fully comprehended the field domain of the great vehicle stage. This ghost flag was also not refined by him. It was guided by the sealed Guizhu. If he wanted to use the power of the ghost flag, he still had to pay a high price. When the ghost flag was fully displayed, it required a strong ghost aura as support. The four of them had lost the twins and had not fully recovered. Therefore, forcibly using the ghost flag at this time consumed a lot of their energy. They thought that by relying on the ghost boundary, Mu Yu and the others would not be able to escape. However, they did not expect that the ghost boundary would be destroyed by the soul returning to the heart. At this time, Mu Yu and Tian Ran had activated the heavenly swords and communicated with the sword intent of the sky. If they did not use this ghost flag, they would not be able to take down Mu Yu at all. You destroyed the gate of hell and stole the soul returning to the heart. I will extract your souls and refine them so that you will never be reincarnated. Ghost Cold looked at Mu Yu with resentment. Then he shouted loudly. His bone claw had already broken through the void and waved toward the two of them. However, Mu Yu and Tian Ran had been connected by the wind-wind heart-linking formation. Their minds were connected. The sword chi in their hands reached the sky. Their momentum was like the sun in the sky. It had already overshadowed the four people from the gate of hell. Tian Ran, did you know that Master's 9 heavenly swords were originally one? Mu Yu looked at Tian Ran. This was the first time he used the heavenly swords with Tian Ran. When they used the wind-wind heart-linking formation, he saw that Tian Ran's heart was always so pure. It was like a piece of white paper. On the white paper, there were only a few simple shadows, Miao Yiyan, Feng Haochen, and Mu Yu. He realized that he was also among them. A pure feeling of joy spread from the bottom of his heart. Tian Ran only cared about 3 people, and Mu Yu was one of them. Tian Ran smiled innocently. Every time she smiled, Mu Yu's heart would beat faster. I know, my mother told me before, when the 9 heavenly swords combine into one, they are unstoppable. So this means that the immortal dew and the split shadows can also combine into one. Mu Yu winked at Tian Ran. Tian Ran nodded thoughtfully. She smiled happily and said, "Then teach me quickly." The two of them gripped the swords with both hands again. The sword light stirred the firmament, and a roar seemed to resound from the 9 heavens. Then, the 2 vortexes in the sky began to gradually condense together. They began to draw close to each other, forming a huge vortex. Wong. The 2 heavenly swords seemed to be holding up the firmament, and also seemed to have pierced a hole in the sky. The sword intent in the firmament constantly poured from the vortex into the heavenly swords in their hands. The sword light illuminated the entire sky, and wind and thunder rumbled. Then, the 2 heavenly swords suddenly combined into one, forming a heavenly sword that was the fusion of green light and limpid autumn water. The heavenly sword trembled slightly and was faintly discernible. It had the awe-inspiring clear light of the immortal dew, and also had the endless growth of the split shadows. The 2 heavenly swords combined together, like a long-lost family hugging each other. Suddenly, an even more majestic sword chi spread out, causing the entire sky to tremble. Swoosh! The sword chi instantly exploded and countless sword shadows swirled in the air. Lightning flashed in the sword shadows, and it also seemed like falling leaves. There were even many green dragons. The sword force of the 9 heavenly sword guides continued to stack together, becoming more and more intense. In the end, it suddenly reached a peak. The 9 style of the 9 heavenly sword guides, 9 returned to 1, great Tao, to simplicity, returned to simplicity. The sword pierced the firmament, destroyed the void, and met Ghost Cold's bone claw head-on. With a loud bang, the two collided, stirring up the whole world. The powerful fluctuations rolled out again. The heavenly sword actually directly pierced through the bone claw, and cracks appeared on the insufferably arrogant bone claw. Then, with a soft sound, the cracks exploded, turning into thousands of bone fragments that were directly destroyed by the sword chi. The sword chi's power did not diminish, and it continued to fall toward Ghost Cold. Ghost Cold's pupils shrank. He was shocked and furious. He did not expect that the 2 heavenly swords would combine into one and destroy the bone claw he created, even though he had already fully displayed the ghost flag that had the aura of a domain. "Go!" Ghost Cold roared. Put away the ghost flag, jump back. He did not dare to meet the sword head-on. At least in the case of losing the twins, he could not use his strength at all. However, he could escape, but the remaining 3 tribulation stage elders could not escape in time. They widened their eyes in horror. The sword gradually enlarged in their eyes, and finally fell down, and the sword chi invaded their bodies. The 3 of them widened their eyes, and cracks appeared on the surface of their bodies. The domineering and biting cold sword chi drilled out of their bodies, like a wild beast that could not wait to break out of their bodies. Bang! 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 Ghost and Shadow and the other 2 in the air were directly smashed into pieces by the sword chi and exploded into thousands of pieces. Even their souls did not have time to escape. Muyu and Tian Rant's faces turned slightly pale. Although the sword was powerful, it also consumed a lot of their spiritual energy. At this time, the heavenly swords had returned to 2 and scattered, falling into their hands. Ghost Cold was furious. His heart was bleeding. Another 3 tribulation stage elders of the gate of hell died in front of him. Muyu, remember this. One day, I will definitely take revenge for today's blood debt and consign you to eternal damnation. Ghost Cold did not dare to continue fighting. He had lost 3 tribulation stage elders, and he had not fully recovered from the loss of the twins. Now, his foundation was damaged by the 2 heavenly swords, and his body was seriously injured. It was impossible for him to continue fighting with the other party alone, not to mention that there was also Shadow Killer Netherworld, who was eyeing him covetously, and whose cultivation was unfathomable. Ghost Cold already had the intention to retreat, but at this time, a white shadow suddenly streaked across the sky, as if it had been waiting for him. Its speed was so fast that even Ghost Cold did not have time to react. Then, Ghost Cold's body suddenly trembled. His chest was pierced by a small claw, and the claw had already grabbed his heart. His whole body twitched violently. "Little devil, why are you shouting those threatening words? Did you ask this marshal if you want to escape?" Little Marshall's figure was extremely fast. When Ghost Cold did not have the twins and was seriously injured, he had already made his move. "How is this possible? How can you break through my ghost shield?" Ghost Cold looked at the small hand on his chest in disbelief. His soul wanted to break free, but the small hand seemed to be tightly holding on to his soul, not giving him any chance to break free. "Your tortoise shield? What is this bastard's tortoise shield in front of this marshal's invincible little claw?" Little Marshall's sharp blade, which was as thin as a cicada's wing, flickered with a chilling light. Until now, there had never been anything that his claws could not cut through, let alone Ghost Cold, who was seriously injured by Sky Sword. "You no longer have the chance," Muyu said indifferently. At this time, Ghost Cold was seriously injured. He did not have the twins, and his ghost flag was also damaged. But if he let such a person escape, when he fully recovered in the future, he would definitely cause a lot of trouble for Muyu. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Whoosh! Muyu had already slashed out with his sword. Shadow Sword Chi instantly chopped off Ghost Cold's head. The sword Chi entered his body, shattering his entire body into pieces. His soul was also ground into ashes, leaving no chance for him to rise from the ashes. Chapter 1028. Sword light filled the air and swept through the entire gate of hell. The dense ghostly aura vanished under Muyu's sword. The entire gate of hell had been razed to the ground. Even the ghost pit was damaged and collapsed. All the people in the gate of hell had been killed by Muyu, including the gate master of the gate of hell, Ghost Cold. The remaining people in the gate of hell outside had already been resuscitated by the twins. Some had even had their bodies taken over by the twins. They were no longer able to stir up trouble in the cultivation world. Then you're next. Muyu was not careless. He once again turned his sword towards the spy in the gate of hell who had yet to make a move. This was Shadowkill Acheron, who had a gloomy aura but was quite powerful. If they really fought, Muyu felt that he would not be able to defeat him so easily. I didn't think that even Ghost Cold would fall in your hands. You've really made me look at you in a new light. Shadowkill Acheron had been watching from the side when he was fighting Ghost Cold and the other three. He did not help Muyu or Ghost Cold. When Muyu killed Ghost Cold, he did not even frown. It was as if Ghost Cold's death was not worth mentioning in his eyes. Muyu and Tian Ran both gripped the Heaven Sword in their hands tightly. Shadowkill Acheron's voice was still mixed with echoes. He looked at the Shadow Clone Sword in Muyu's hand, then glanced at the Immortal Dew Sword in Tian Ran's hand and praised. Sword Shadow Dustwind's Heaven Sword is indeed worthy of its reputation. If you want to experience it, I'll accompany you. Muyu silently took out the pure spiritual energy he had refined from the Twin Corpse Sea. He quickly recovered his spiritual energy and helped Tian Ran recover as well. He and Tian Ran's sword strike was powerful enough to kill Ghost Cold, but they had consumed a lot of their spiritual power. The current situation was not optimistic. Shadowkill Acheron said, "If you hadn't fought Ghost Cold, you might have been able to fight me. But now, you're no match for me. You can try." Muyu was not afraid. Not only had he fought Ghost Cold, but he had also fought against Akatsuki's soul transference in the Ghost Cave's 18 levels of hell. He had also fought against Guizu. Even Muyu found it very difficult to fight 3 powerful opponents in a row. However, if Shadowkill Acheron wanted to obtain Xinyan's whereabouts from him, Muyu would not let him succeed. "Muyu, we can still defeat this annoying guy together." Tian Ran raised the Immortal Dew Sword again. Although her face was slightly pale, she did not shrink back. "Ha ha ha, you're too naive. Ghost Cold and the others died at your hands only because you destroyed their twins first. But I'm Shadowkill. You should understand that I'm different from them. The two of you are no match for me." Shadowkill Acheron sneered. "They're not two people." Duke Ming coldly snorted and stood beside Muyu. Although his injuries had not completely recovered, when Muyu and Ghost Cold were fighting, he had quickly refined the pure spiritual energy that Muyu had given him. He was now able to fight. Shadowkill Acheron looked at Duke Ming with some surprise. Since when did the Gate of Life and Death choose to help Sword Shadow and Dustwind? Duke Ming was silent for a moment. "I, old Jiangyu, am no longer a member of the Gate of Life and Death." Shadowkill Acheron sized up old Jiangyu and said in surprise, "Old Jiangyu, so you're the traitor from the Gate of Life and Death 50 years ago. Old Jiangyu. Even I misjudged you. I never thought that the famous Old Jiangyu would actually become Meng Po's twin." "Old Jiangyu?" Muyu turned to look at Duke Ming. He always thought that Duke Ming's name was Duke Ming. At least, everyone's impression of the husband of Meng Po, who guarded the Bridge of Helplessness, was definitely Duke Ming. Old Jiangyu explained faintly. "Duke Ming is just what that old woman announced to the public after framing me. In order to cover up her dirty deeds, my original name was Old Jiangyu." Muyu didn't know much about the Gate of Life and Death. He didn't have much contact with the Gate of Life and Death. He only met Si Wuxing from the Gate of Life and Death when he was in the second layer of heaven. Since then, all his troubles came from the Gate of Hell and the third layer palace. Therefore, he didn't know what the 3 words Old Jiangyu meant to the Gate of Life and Death. Tian Ran on the side exclaimed, You're the famous old Jianyu? Old Jianyu glanced at Tian Ran. Even a little girl remembers me. I thought the cultivation world had long forgotten about me. Tian Ran said with some vigilance. I heard from my elders that the number one master of the gate of life and death, old Jianyu, reached the 9th layer of heaven passing tribulation at the age of 36. He was a famous genius in the cultivation world. He was the most terrifying character of the 8 gates. Unfortunately, he killed the gate master of the gate of life and death for a woman, which was his master, and betrayed the gate of life and death. This matter caused a huge sensation in the cultivation world at that time. Later on, he disappeared from the cultivation world. Oh, you didn't refine your master into your own twin, did you? Xiao Shui said with disgust. Endless anger appeared on old Jiangyu's face. Nonsense. How could I kill my master? In order to refine me into her twin and gain my trust, that old woman used despicable means to kill my master when he wasn't paying attention. She then framed me for this matter. I went to find her for revenge, but I didn't expect to be trapped by her for so many years. Muyi was shocked. He didn't think that Duke Ming of the Twin Corpse C was the number one master of the gate of life and death. He also had a past that no one knew about. Right now, old Jiangyu's cultivation was only at the 4th or 5th layer of heaven-passing tribulation. Naturally, it was because he had just escaped and hadn't fully recovered. Tian Ran realized that she seemed to have said something she shouldn't have and quickly explained, Sorry, this is what my elders said. The older generation passed it down like this. I don't know about the past. Old Jiangyu coldly snorted and waved his hand. Forget it. This matter is already in the past. That vicious woman is also dead, so I've taken my revenge. I'm not a good person, but Muyu, you helped me fulfill my wish, so I will help you. Old Jiangyu moved Muyu a lot. As a member of the Gate of Life and Death, old Jiangyu must have killed a lot of people. However, this kind of person was at least principled in doing things. 1 was 1, 2 was 2. He was much better than those hypocritical and cowardly cultivators in Dongsha City. Shadowkill Netherworld looked at old Jiangyu with admiration. What a pity if old Jiangyu was at his peak. I might have been a bit afraid. However, you can't be of much help right now. The sword in Mu Yu's hand once again blossomed with green light. He indifferently said, If you want to fight, then fight. What's with all this nonsense? Shadowkill Netherworld's feet already emitted a biting cold yellow light. The huge python spat out its sharp fangs, and a terrifying aura suddenly erupted. It was actually a bit stronger than Ghost Cold. This guy really hid his strength well. Mu Yu and Tian Ran looked at each other and saw a trace of seriousness in each other's eyes. In order to kill Ghost Cold, the two of them had already expended a large amount of spiritual energy. They only had a slight advantage because Ghost Cold didn't have twins. However, Shadowkill Netherworld wasn't a member of the Gate of Hell, so he didn't have any misgivings. Not to mention, just the 2 words Shadowkill had enough weight to make people have no choice but to take him seriously. The atmosphere became oppressive again. Mu Yu and the other 2 also held their breaths and were on guard. With the ghost boundary broken, the energy of the Gate of Hell also dissipated. Sunlight once again shone on the ground, reflecting people's shadows. Netherworld glanced at the sunlight in the sky. He had already landed in the black shadow below the huge yellow snake. He sneered, It seems that I still need to personally make a move against you. All I want is Qingyin's whereabouts. If you tell me, I can leave. In your dreams. Muyu replied straightforwardly. The huge yellow snake under Shadowkill Netherworld's feet suddenly dispersed, turning into 6 3-meter-long snake shadows. The 6 snake shadows quickly swept through the air. These 6 snakes had abdominal wings growing from their abdomens, allowing them to glide nimbly in the air. The snake shadows quickly swept across the ground. Shadowkill Netherworld's figure was mixed in with the snake shadows, quickly moving towards Mu Yu and the other 2. Jiangyu's body emitted a strange aura. Mu Yu and Tian Ran also raised the heavenly swords in their hands. If Shadowkill Netherworld wanted to make a move, they had to meet him head-on. However, at this moment, a series of flower petals suddenly floated down from the sky. These flower petals sprinkled down, beautiful and colorful. They spun in the air and floated with the wind, landing on Shadowkill, Netherworld snake shadows. Ding! The flower petals created ripples in the air. As the ripples spread, the flower petals covered the snake's shadows, perfectly covering them. Following that, a pleasant flute sound came from afar, causing the flower petals to dance. Following that, the nimble flying snakes were imprisoned in the air. The 6 snake shadows kept struggling, but their shadows seemed to be nailed to the ground by the flower petals. They were unable to break free. This was a very strange phenomenon. Shadowkill, Netherworld, knew how to use his shadows to move, but this time, he was restrained by his own shadows. Who is it? Shadowkill, Netherworld, roared angrily and had already retreated. The yellow spring water surged out from the ground once again as he steadied himself. Muyu and Tian Ran looked at the flower petals that suddenly appeared in astonishment. This was not the first time they had seen such a strange scene. It was as though someone's memories had been dug out from their minds. Following that, they understood what had happened. I had so lively here. I thought the gate of hell was playing with ghosts all day long and had blown itself up. It really was blown up. TSK, TSK. Shimenwuji's lazy and leisurely voice came from afar. He leisurely floated over step by step while stepping on the flower petals. His long robe fluttered in the wind. His handsome and bewitching face carried a wanton and unruly smile. The aura on his body was incomparably ostentatious. Sure enough, it's this shameless guy. Muyu sighed in relief. Who would have thought that Shimenwuji would jump out at this time? He hadn't seen this guy for several years. This guy Shimenwuji was Xie Bulo's favorite disciple. His innate talent was extremely monstrous. Moreover, he had cultivated several years earlier than Muyu and others. He had become a passing calamity expert. Muyu didn't feel surprised at all. Muyu even felt that this guy, Shimenwuji, wouldn't need to pass any hard tribulation when he stepped in a passing calamity stage. The evil faction people did things as they pleased. They basically didn't have so many grievances and disputes. But this guy Shimenwuji was very unreliable. He did things based on his mood. One moment, he said he was here to help you, and the next moment, he planned to kill you. However, Muyu knew that since this guy could appear here so rashly, he was most likely here to help him. Now, he was more confident in dealing with Shadowkill Netherworld. Falling Flower Evil Shadow. What a powerful evil technique. It seems that you have obtained the true teachings of Xie Bulo. You are quite powerful. Shadowkill Netherworld coldly looked at Shimenwuji. My old man invented the Falling Flower Evil Shadow, which is specially used to suppress sneaky shadows. It's a pity that your silhouette being organization doesn't accept the mission to assassinate me, so I haven't had a chance to use it. Shimenwuji said with some regret. No chance to use it? No one wants to kill you, and you still dislike it? Is there something wrong with your brain? Little Handsome shouted. When Muyu heard about the Falling Flower Evil Shadow, he was also surprised. Every time this guy appeared, he would sprinkle some flowers and then play a little flute to pretend to be profound. Muyu originally thought that Shimenwuji was just doing it for show, but he didn't expect that these flower petals and flute music would be so powerful. It was even invented by Xie Bulo to suppress Shadowkill. Thinking about it, this guy often caused trouble everywhere in the cultivation world and offended countless people. With so many people wanting to kill him, there would definitely be someone who would ask the powerful Shadowkill to deal with him. But he still lived freely until now. It turned out that it was because Shimenwuji had the evil technique to suppress Shadowkill Shadow, and the Shadowkill organization was unwilling to accept this kind of mission. Shimenwuji stretched lazily, then looked at Muyu and said with a smile, Brother-in-law, we meet again. Shut up. Muyu responded without thinking. Still so rude. It's really a waste for me to come here. But little sister Tian Ran, how have you been recently? Shimenwuji winked at Tian Ran. I am Duan Baiqi. Tian Ran remembered that she had an illusion array with her, so she promptly said. Shimenwuji laughed heartily. Little sister, don't tease your brother. You are much better looking than that fierce woman Duan Baiqing. Last time I peeked at her bathing, and she chased me for 20,000 miles. But now she doesn't dare to come and find me again. Truly regretful. Shimin Wuji opened his evil nether fan and leisurely fanned it. He didn't have any scruples in speaking, and said whatever he wanted to say. Tian Ran is now my girl. You better be careful with your words. Muyu warned. Tian Ran secretly glanced at Muyu, and her face blushed. Shimin Wuji curled his lips. How come all the famous flowers are taken? I'm so handsome. How come I'm still single? Handsome people are generally single. Little Handsome happily said on Muyu's shoulder. I like this little guy, haha. Shimin Wuji laughed loudly. He and Little Handsome, these two narcissistic guys, were simply shameless. Shadowkill coldly looked at Shimin Wuji. Shimin Wuji, you also want to get involved in this mess? Voila. Shimin Wuji put away his evil nether fan, then lazily said, I have been involved in this mess for so many years. Are you that surprised? Chapter 10:29. Shadowkill Netherworld didn't act rashly. As Sieb Yulo's disciple, Shimin Wuji's strength was extraordinary. With Shadowkill Netherworld's identity, he definitely knew what kind of person Sieb Yulo was. Sieb Yulo had spent his entire life researching how to defeat the 9 guiding heavenly sword. Many cultivation techniques were abandoned after he created them, but many of them were enough to cause people to go crazy if they spread to the cultivation world. Since Sieb Yulo had specially researched how to deal with the falling flower evil shadow of the silhouette being, then with Shimin Wuji's cultivation, Shadowkill Netherworld wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. It seems that I was careless today, but Muyu, I still have to remind you that Qingyin's actions have violated the taboo of our silhouette being race. We will not let this matter go. Not only me, but some people will also find trouble with Qingyin. Shadowkill Netherworld coldly snorted, and then the yellow spring water under his feet emerged and wrapped around him. Then all the spring water shot out and fell into the abyss on the ground of the gate of hell, and Shadowkill Netherworld had already disappeared. He ran pretty fast. Shimin Wuji took out his fan and said leisurely. Muyu had some doubts in his heart. What did Qingyin do to violate the taboo of the silhouette being race? Who was the some people Netherworld was talking about? Although Muyu couldn't understand this, he didn't intend to stop Shadowkill Netherworld from leaving. Now that the gate of hell had been destroyed, it had already caused a huge commotion. Perhaps in a while, more people would come to check the situation. Even the people from the third palace were very likely to appear. It was not wise to continue entangling with Shadowkill Netherworld. Let's get out of here. Muyu didn't say anything and immediately took the lead to leave. Tian ran and the others followed closely behind, and Shimin Wuji also followed. They flew all the way to the west, and after flying for 2 hours, they stopped on a mountain peak. Muyu, Tian ran, and Gu Jiangyu all sat down cross-legged and began to adjust their breathing. In order to kill Ghost Cold, they had expended a great deal of spiritual energy. Seeing that Muyu and the others were cultivating, Shimin Wuji was bored to death and was exchanging thoughts about Shimin Wuji versus Pan Yinlian with Xiao Shuai. So you were doing those things with Pan Yinlian at the Red Flower Willow Green building? Xiao Shuai asked curiously. That's right, little guy. Let me tell you, the girls are really hot. You can pinch them lightly and water will come out. Especially the number 1 flower, that skill, TSK. You don't know, it's enough. Shimin Wuji explained unceasingly. But Xiao Shuai nevertheless couldn't wait and interrupted Shimin Wuji's explanation. Is the food in Red Flower Green Willow building delicious? Of course it's delicious, but the girls are even better, especially the number 1 Hua Hua. That skill. What's there to eat? Do you have beef patties? Do you have roasted beef kidney? Is there a lot of stuffing in the meat bun? Little Handsome's face was full of excitement. Shimin Wuji looked at Xiao Shuai with a stupefied expression. He didn't understand why the topic of talking about the girls of Red Flower Willow Green building changed to food. After recovering, Muyu suddenly heard the words of Xiao Shuai and couldn't help but laugh. Okay, Shimin Wuji, It's useless for you to exchange thoughts with Xiao Shuai. His focus is not on the girls, but the food of Red Flower Willow Green Building. At that time, when White Ape Demon King secretly took Xiao Shuai to that kind of place, Xiao Shuai ate the food of Red Flower Willow Green Building. But Xiao Shuai was thinking about the food of that kind of place. The food of this kind of place was very delicious. Because there was a saying, if you want to capture the heart of a man, you have to bind the stomach of a man. So the food of that kind of place generally wouldn't be bad. Unfortunately, many men didn't go there for the food, but Xiao Shuai was the opposite. Shimin Wuji shook his head. You little guy, you are destined to be single for your whole life. Muyu didn't think that Xiao Shuai would be single for his whole life. Wherever this guy went, there were people who liked him. Even the rank 6 monster beast Demon Toad and the rank 7 monster beast Ink Demon Gorilla were attracted to Xiao Shuai. Muyu immediately asked, Shimin Wuji, how did you suddenly appear in the Gate of Hell? To say that he just happened to appear in this place, it was a bit too much of a coincidence. Shimin Wuji shook his fan helplessly and shook his head. I can't help it. A Deshang stage guy sent me here. That guy said you might be in trouble, so he sent me here. How can I be so unlucky? Every time you cause trouble, I have to clean up your ass. Muyu asked in surprise. Who is that senior? Shimin Wuji rolled his eyes. That Deshang stage guy threatened me with lightning. Who do you think he is? Spiritual Master and Lei? Muyu was surprised. He only knew Spiritual Master and Lei who could use lightning magic in the Deshang stage. The powerful domain ability of Shattered Thunder Dust still amazed Muyu. That's him, Shimin Wuji said. Why did you agree with him? Muyu felt a little surprised. Shimin Wuji didn't look like a guy who would easily admit defeat. Even if Spiritual Master and Lei threatened him, if Shimin Wuji was unhappy, he would have gone to visit a brothel halfway. Why would he come here? Shimin Wuji smiled. I did it for you. Come on. Muyu's face was full of disbelief. Fine. He saved my life. We evil people are not afraid of anything, but we are afraid of owing a favor, alas. Shimin Wuji shook his head. Xiao Shuai looked at Shimin Wuji. Aren't you known as an undying cockroach? Will your life be in danger? Shimin Wuji rolled his eyes at Xiao Shuai. When a cockroach hasn't grown up, it is not the opponent of the third palace. Those fleas of the third palace wanted to control me, so they sent a Deshang stage cultivator to kill me. I almost fell. Muyu nodded thoughtfully. Although Shimin Wuji's vitality was tenacious, facing a Deshang stage cultivator, he was at his wit's end. Where is Spiritual Master and Lei? Muyu asked again. He now had soul returning to mind, but he didn't know how to use it. He still couldn't repair Deadwood Daddy's soul, but Spiritual Master and Lei might know how to do it. Shimin Wuji shrugged his shoulders. I was pulled out from a group of women by him. He told me to come to this place to find you, and then left. How do I know where he is? Muyu fell into contemplation. Who was this Spiritual Master and Lei? How did he know his whereabouts? Could it be that Spiritual Master and Lei had been secretly observing him? If that was the case, why was he hiding? Do you have any news about Luo Shang? Muyu asked again. You mean Luo Shang? He is busy with a very frightening matter. Shimin Wuji said mysteriously. What frightening matter? Muyu frowned. He felt a little uneasy in his heart. Shimin Wuji shook his head. I don't know. He came to find me a while ago. Now he has become a little. How should I say it? It makes my heart palpitate. This guy is very powerful, and his murderous aura is too heavy. It is a little strange. Strange? Can it be more strange than you? Xiao Shuai sneered. Shimin Wuji replied with certainty. You are right. No one could be more strange than me. Muyu clenched his fists. Judging from the strength Shimin Wuji had just displayed, he was at least at the 9th heavenly layer of crossing tribulation. But he was afraid of Luo Shang. How powerful was Luo Shang's murderous aura? He also thought of Xiangnan. What was the situation of Xiangnan now? Also, what about Qingyan? Muyu didn't rely on his murderous aura anymore. But if Luo Shang and Xiangnan were to continue to be corroded by his murderous aura, the consequences would be unimaginable. He clearly knew how terrifying that murderous aura was. Why did Luo Shang look for you? Muyu said in a deep voice. Shiman Wuji rubbed his chin and looked at Muyu with a smile, yet not a smile. Then, his gaze fell on Tian Ran, who was resting at the side. The sky was very blue, just like a mirror. The white clouds were wiped away, and the blue color made people feel relaxed and happy. All the big cities in the cultivation world were preparing for the battle against Yumon. They were actively looking for the whereabouts of Yumon and killing even more Yumon. Thus, they could obtain soul points and exchange them for even more treasure from the 8 gates. Or, the more shortcut method was to find a way to kill people with higher cultivation than them. In order to obtain information about Yumon, self-cultivators spread the news very quickly. Once a Yumon appeared in a city, the news would quickly spread to other cities. News spread quickly, and it wasn't just the news about the Yumming Devil clan. Any new movements among the 8 gates also spread quickly. Wuchio City. Wuchio City's guards were very strong because there were 6 tribulation stage experts guarding the city. Among them, Elder Tian Hoyang of Stargate was the leader. The 6 tribulation stage elders made people feel very safe. With these 6 people guarding the city, why would they worry about not being able to kill Yumon? But today, the 7 tribulation stage expert came to Wuchio City. Tian Yuehen's appearance in Wuchio City caused a stir. No one knew why the Gate Master of Stargate would personally come here, but his arrival undoubtedly boosted everyone's confidence. If it wasn't for the news that spread in Wuchio City 2 hours later, perhaps everyone would think that Tian Yuehen was here to lead them to fight Yumon. A terrifying battle broke out in the sky outside Wuchio City. This battle shocked the entire city, and ghostly energy almost covered half of Wuchio City. Outside Wuchio City, the Gate of Hell's 2nd stage tribulation stage elder, Ghost Oppression Shun, roared angrily, "Tian Yuehen, I respected you as the Gate Master of Stargate, so I didn't attack you. But you attacked me without any reason. Don't go too far." He had just defeated the resuscitation twins in his body and killed the twins that were almost as strong as him. He had used up a lot of spiritual energy and was about to rush back to the Gate of Hell to investigate. But he was stopped by Tian Yuehen and Tian Hoyang. "Go too far? You people from the Gate of Hell destroyed the foundation of Stargate. And you dare to say that we're going too far? Gate Master, kill him." Tian Hoyang didn't give Ghost Oppression any chance to explain and directly attacked him. Tian Yuehen also angrily summoned a long spear and attacked Ghost Oppression Shun. "Tian Yuehen, if you kill me, the Sanchong Palace won't let you go." Ghost Oppression Shun shouted anxiously. Even if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be a match for Stargate's Gate Master, Tian Yuehen, let alone now that he had lost his twins. Tian Yuehen hesitated when he heard the words Sanchong Palace, but Tian Hoyang was already fighting with Ghost Oppression Shun. Tian Yuehen thought of Tian Xingzhou's death and the fall of the 7 immortal mountains. He was filled with hatred and rushed over without hesitation. "Tian Yuehen, you'll regret this." Gloomy Ghost roared angrily, but Tian Hoyang had already slashed Gloomy Ghost's head with his saber, chopping it off. The Crossing Calamity Stage Elder of the Gate of Hell, Ghost Depression Shun, was dead. "Gate Master, I have to go back to Wuchio City and kill the rest of the people from the Gate of Hell." Tian Hoyang angrily rushed back to Wuchio City. At this time, the entire Wuchio City was shocked. Everyone saw the Gate Master of Stargate kill the Elder of the Gate of Hell with his own hands. The two sects had obviously turned against each other. This was explosive news. No one expected Tian Yuehen to work with Tian Hoyang to kill Ghost Oppression Shun as soon as he arrived at Wuchio City. However, an even more shocking rumor spread in Wuchio City. Stargate and the Gate of Hell had killed each other. Whether it was Stargate or the Gate of Hell, they no longer existed. The two sects had been completely erased from the cultivation world. After Tian Yuehen killed Ghost Oppression Shun, he was about to head to Wuchio City. However, at this time, his expression changed drastically. A powerful aura came from Wuchio City. This aura made him feel extremely pressured. Not good. Tian Yuehen quickly rushed into Wuchio City. Extreme Celestial Pavilion outside Wuchio City. Tian Yuehen knelt on the ground with a pale face. His entire body was trembling. Anyone who saw this scene would feel extremely strange. As the gate master of Stargate, Tian Yuan's status was extremely noble. He had just killed Ghost Depression Shun from the Gate of Hell. However, at this time, he was kneeling on the ground with an extremely frightened expression. How could such a person do such a thing? Tian Yuan, how dare you? How dare you do such a thing? In front of Tian Yuan stood a person glowing with white light. The pressure on his body was like a mountain, making it difficult for Tian Yuan to breathe. The white-haired Tian Hoyong also knelt on the ground in shock. He did not dare to raise his head to look at the person in front of him. That was the power of a great vehicle stage. The person in front of Tian Yuan was a palace envoy from the third palace. Master, I was momentarily blinded by anger and did not consider the consequences. However, Ghost Cold actually snuck into Stargate and killed our great elder. I saw it with my own eyes. I could not hold back my anger and killed Ghost Depression Shun with Elder Tian Hoyong. His sect was destroyed and Tian Xingzhou was killed. Tian Yuan was so angry that he almost lost his mind. This matter caused a huge commotion and made everyone in Wuqiu City know about it. Not to mention that killing Ghost Depression Shun was suggested by Tian Hoyong. However, Tian Hoyong said in shock, I did not kill Ghost Depression Shun. Gate Master, the person who killed Ghost Depression Shun with you is not me. I just rushed back to Wuqiu City. What? Tian Yuan looked at Tian Hoyong in shock. The palace envoy said coldly, that person was Zhuge Xiaosheng. You are getting worse and worse. You can't even recognize Zhuge Xiaosheng. Chapter 10:30. Zhuge Xiaosheng? How could it be him? Tian Yuan raised his head in disbelief. He was so angry that he didn't realize that the person who followed him all the way from Stargate and killed Ghost Depression with him wasn't Tian Hoyong. Idiot! How did someone as stupid as you become the gate master of Stargate? What a piece of trash. Don't you think that there's something fishy about this? Did Ghost Cold eat a bear's heart or a leopard's guts? Why would he go to Stargate and kill people? And even destroy Stargate? Haven't you thought about why he did this? The palace emissary was furious. Things had already gone out of his control. At this time, the news of the destruction of Stargate and the Gate of Hell had spread throughout the world of cultivation. Everyone was saying that the Gate Master of the Gate of Hell, Ghost Cold, had a disagreement with Tian Yuan and led his subordinates to kill Tian Xingzhou's Grand Elder and destroy the 7 sacred mountains of Stargate, destroying the foundation of Stargate. In order to take revenge, Stargate joined forces with the Red Dust sect and razed the Gate of Hell to the ground. At first, everyone was skeptical about this matter. However, Tian Yuan and Tian Hoyong killed Ghost Depression in front of everyone, which undoubtedly confirmed the truth of this matter. Tian Yuan gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, Ghost Cold can't get away from this matter. The foundation of Stargate was destroyed just like that. Martial Uncle Xingzhou is also dead. The Gate of Hell can't escape the blame. When Tian Yuan thought about the 7 majestic mountains falling in front of him and the corpse of the heaven-traversing boat being thrown out of the Grand Formation, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. Although Stargate obeyed the orders of Sanchong Palace, he couldn't bear the fact that the pillar of Stargate, Tian Xingzhou, was killed. In addition, Zhuge Xiaosheng's impersonation of Tian Hoyong added fuel to the fire. Tian Yuan didn't have any reason to think about it. Moreover, Tian Yuan was very sure that Ghost Cold had come to his territory. There was no doubt about it. As for Tian Hoyong's impersonation of Zhuge Xiaosheng, he didn't have any suspicions because of Tian Xingzhou's death and the 7 sacred mountains falling. Bang! A white light flashed, and Tian Yuan was sent flying. He crashed into the wall and spat out a mouthful of blood. Trash! A bunch of trash. If it weren't for the fact that you were still useful, I would have killed you first. The palace envoy was furious. Although Sanchong Palace used the Soul Formation to control all the Tribulation Passing Stage cultivators of the 8 gates, the Soul Formation they controlled had a very obvious flaw. If they wanted to control them, they had to do it at close range. And Sanchong Palace couldn't be by Tian Yuan's side all the time. They also didn't expect that Muyu would go to Stargate and the Gate of Hell instead of the Red Dust sect. By the time the palace envoy got the news and rushed over, it was already too late. Wuchio City was already in an uproar. All kinds of strange rumors quickly spread in Wuchio City and all the other cities in the cultivation world. The 8 gates are killing each other because of the misallocation of resources. They're no longer willing to lead the cultivators to fight Yaman. The Gate of Hell has been completely destroyed. All the twins are having problems. It's said that Yaman invaded the Gate of Hell. Ghost Cold has already been killed by Yaman. The Tribulation Passing Stage Elders are no match for Yaman. Yaman is just pretending to be defeated. His real goal is to make everyone lower their guard so that he can destroy the 8 gates. A series of rumors suddenly spread to every city as if they'd grown wings. All the cultivators were in a state of panic. Their faith in the 8 gates was beginning to waver. The destruction of the Gate of Hell and Stargate undoubtedly made the rumors even more convincing. Village Chief Old Bu had arranged for people from the Array faction to secretly spread these rumors. Sanchong Palace wanted to use the 8 gates as the hope of the cultivators, but Village Chief Old Bu's strategy had already shattered everything. War wasn't just a contest of strength. It was also a contest of people's hearts. The 8 gates can't be trusted. We have to get the 9 arcane immortals to take action as soon as possible. The news that Village Chief Old Bu had people spread caused the cultivators to shift their hopes from the 8 gates to the 9 arcane immortals. If the destruction of the Gate of Hell and Stargate wasn't enough to explain everything, then the destruction of another of the 8 gates pushed the voices of the 9 arcane immortals to the limit. Scorched earth and spikes were everywhere. It was a complete mess. Thick smoke billowed and lingered for a long time, indicating that an extremely tragic battle had taken place here. Muyu silently looked at the devastation in front of him. He suddenly felt extremely carefree. This was the Red Dust sect. The Red Dust sect had been destroyed. Luo Shang and Xiang Nin had done it. Yesterday, Shimin Wuji and Muyu had a conversation about what Luo Shang had said to Shimin Wuji. The people of the Red Dust sect did unforgivable things to my junior brother and even killed my junior sister. There's no need for this sect to continue existing. Those who hurt the people of the Falling Dust sect will have to pay the price. These were Luo Shang's words. Luo Shang had sought out Shimin Wuji because he wanted to know more about the Red Dust sect. Shimin Wuji had often interacted with the female disciples of the Red Dust sect and had been hunted down here and there. He knew the characteristics of the Red Dust sect, so he needed Shimin Wuji's information. Luo Shang and Xiang Nan did it purely to avenge the 2 of you. Little Shuai laughed. He didn't care about the destruction of the Red Dust sect at all. The Red Dust sect had originally been part of the plan, but because of Tian Ran's pleas, Muyu hadn't planned to take action. However, Luo Shang and Xiang Nan didn't have such thoughts. Tian Ran was their master's daughter. Whether it was Luo Shang or Xiang Nan and Qingyan, they all treated Tian Ran as their junior sister. When they heard that something had happened to Tian Ran and Muyu, Luo Shang and Xiang Nan actually joined forces to raise the Red Dust sect to the ground, all for the sake of avenging their junior brother and junior sister. Senior brothers, the 2 of you really did something I couldn't do. Muyu sighed in his heart. Everyone in the cultivation world knew that Tian Ran was dead. Even Luo Shang and Xiang Nin didn't know that Tian Ran had come back to life. Therefore, almost as soon as Muyu went to destroy the Gate of Hell and Stargate, Luo Shang and Xiang Nin also joined forces to destroy the Red Dust sect. Although Luo Shang and Xiang Nin were walking further and further down the path of slaughter, they still hadn't forgotten that they still had a junior brother and a junior sister who was pure and innocent. The 2 of them acted decisively. Luo Shang started a fire, and Xiang Nan started a fire. The entire Red Dust sect couldn't withstand their fury and was directly wiped out from the cultivation world. How did this happen? Tian Ran bit her lip and hugged Muyu tightly. She couldn't bear to see the place where she grew up turn into ruins. No matter how the Red Dust sect treated her, this was still her former home. Chapter 1031. What about my mother? Did something happen to her too? Tian Ran was on the verge of tears. All the senior and junior sisters of the Red Dust sect were dead, but she was more worried about her mother. Her mother had been imprisoned in the Red Dust sect for many years without leaving. Now that the Red Dust sect had been destroyed, she didn't know if she was still alive or not. Don't worry. Luo Shang and Xiangnin know what to do. They know that your mother is our master's wife, so I'm sure they'll rescue her. Muyu comforted Tian Ran as he hugged her. Luo Shang and Xiangnin knew about this, so they wouldn't speak without thinking. Even though their thoughts had become extreme and they had embarked on a completely different path, they still retained their memories and emotions of the past. They were very clear about Miao Yuyan's identity. Luo Shang, Xiangnan, thank you, Muyu said in his heart. Even though the Red Dust sect had done something unforgivable to Tian Ran and her mother, Tian Ran still cared about them and didn't want Muyu to touch the Red Dust sect. If it weren't for Tian Ran's feelings, Muyu would have destroyed the Red Dust sect with his own hands. I like Luo Shang and Xiangnan's hot tempers. Next time, I'll save a drumstick for them, little Shuai said with a grin. Muyu patted little Shuai's head and tried to hold back his laughter. Now that he could take charge of a group of people, his senior brothers, who didn't reason with their enemies for the sake of their junior brothers, had always been a pillar of support in his heart. He would also go through water and tread on fire to protect his senior brothers. Therefore, when Shadowkill Underworld wanted Muyu to help find Qingyan, Muyu rejected him without hesitation. Brothers and family were the most treasured things. Shimin Wuji groaned and groaned. With a grieved and hateful look, he helplessly said, I pity those sisters of the Red Dust sect. I didn't have the heart to do anything to them, so I didn't follow Luo Shang to destroy them. Those two are really heartless. At least they could have been captured for me to train. Muyu glared at Shimin Wuji. Shimin Wuji looked at Tian Ran, and tactfully he shut his mouth. Muyu was not in the mood to care about the lives of the other Red Dust sect disciples. Right now, showing mercy to the enemy was the same as being cruel to oneself. Under such circumstances, there was no room for sympathy. Shimin Wuji, you really don't know where they are? Muyu asked again. He had always wanted to know where Luo Shang and Xiangnan were so that he could meet them. Shimin Wuji shook his head. I don't know. That guy always appears and disappears like a ghost. I don't like the murderous aura on his body. I didn't even see Xiangnan's face. Luo Shang only asked me if there was anything worth paying attention to in Red Dust sect, and also where Tian Ran's mother was. Then he left. Muyu pondered for a moment and remembered that Lan Ling, and the others were still in the 50-mile garden in the south. That place just happened to be the gathering place of the evil sections. He asked, the people of my Luochen mountain are all in the 50-mile garden in the south. Are they okay? Shimin Wuji shrugged. I've seen them. They're fine. That shabby courtyard is quite mysterious. It's protected by a powerful formation. There's even an evil formation set up by my old man. Even I can't force my way in. Muyu knew about this formation. When his master went there, he had set up a powerful formation. He knew how to get in. With the formation techniques of his master and Xiebulo, they should be able to resist the people of the Third Palace. Whatever. I still have some things to do. Don't order me around. Shimin Wuji left unhurriedly. Muyu at least knew that Luo Shang and Xiangnan were together. This made him feel a little relieved. Luo Shang and Xiangnan's strength was definitely above his. If they worked together, he basically didn't have to worry about the maggots below the Third Palace. Old Jiangyu, what about you? Do you want to go back to the Gate of Life and Death? Muyu turned around and asked. Old Jiangyu looked indifferently at the Red Dust sect that no longer existed. He shook his head. I have nothing to do with the Gate of Life and Death. If I go back now, they will kill me. I don't need to go back. Mengpo was dead. Old Jiangyu couldn't prove his innocence. He didn't need to prove anything. The Gate of Hell was destroyed. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. He got his revenge. This was the best ending for old Jiangyu. Muyu said, You're seriously injured now. Why don't you come to my array sect to rest for a while? You can make plans after you recover. There are spies of the Third Palace everywhere in the cultivation world. If you're not careful, you'll be controlled by them. I don't want to see you in the future and have to kill you with my own hands. Old Jiangyu said coldly, I'm not a good person. You better not take me in. Otherwise, I won't be able to control what I do. Muyu smiled. There are no absolute good and bad people in this world. I don't think I'm a good person either. But at least I think we're both trustworthy people. Old Jiangyu's eyes moved. He looked at Muyu with a strange gaze. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll bite the hand that feeds me when I recover? You're not. Muyu said. Old Jiangyu said coldly, Don't think you know me well. Then are you? Muyu asked back. Old Jiangyu flung his sleeves. He was a bit annoyed by this question. He said, Fine, I'll borrow your place to rest. I only have one request. You can't touch the people of Erase Sect and Pill Cauldron Sect. I won't restrict your freedom. If you want to use something to cultivate, I suggest you deal with the remnants of the Gate of Hell and Stargate. Muyu's meaning was clear. Old Jiangyu was from the Gate of Life and Death. His cultivation method was very evil. He needed to kill people to refine his zombie cultivation method. But Muyu had long become indifferent to killing people. If Old Jiangyu used the lives of people from the Gate of Hell and Stargate to cultivate, he wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. I know what I'm doing. Old Jiangyu looked meaningfully at Muyu and didn't say anything else. Muyu knew that Old Jiangyu wasn't someone who would go back on his words. When he used the Celestial Birth Reincarnation Seal to return to the past, he even helped Muyu escape after escaping. He was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Since he was once an expert of the 9th layer of tribulation, as long as he was helped recover his past cultivation, he might be useful in the future. Although Old Jiangyu wasn't a completely good person, he at least had principles. He also received Muyu's favor. He knew what he should do. The three of them left the Red Dust Sect and rushed towards the Withered Tree Valley. He had made an agreement with Zhuge Shaosheng that once the matter was over, they would meet there. After spending a few hours, when Muyu landed in the valley, Zhuge Shaosheng was already there waiting for him. Muyu, are you okay? Zhuge Shaosheng looked a bit pale, and his breathing was a bit unstable. Muyu frowned and asked, You're injured? Zhuge Shaosheng let out a long breath and shook his head with a bitter smile. It's good enough that I'm still alive. I pretended to be Tian Hoyang and instigated Tian Yuehan to kill Ghost Oppression from the Gate of Hell. Although I killed him, a Grand Ascension Stage cultivator from the 3rd Layer Palace rushed over, and I almost didn't escape. A Grand Ascension Stage cultivator? Mui was also nervous. Zhuge Shaosheng and Tian Ran were the same. They had just stepped into the Crossing Tribulation Stage not long ago. If something happened, he couldn't absolve himself from blame. Then how did you escape? Muyu quickly asked. He didn't want anything to happen to Zhuge Shaosheng. Now that Zhuge Shaosheng was safe and sound, he was relieved. Chapter 1032. Tian Jiansheng. Muyu was surprised. He didn't think that the person lying on the ground would be Tian Jiansheng. He saved you. Muyu immediately walked over and squatted down to check Tian Jiansheng's injuries. He found that Tian Jiansheng was seriously injured and unconscious. His aura was also extremely chaotic. It seemed that he could die at any time. I used the pill you gave me to keep him alive. I thought that you should be able to save him. However, I still don't understand why Tian Jiansheng from Stargate would risk his life to save me. If he didn't rush over and use a strange technique to take me away from Wuchio City, I'm afraid that I would have been captured by that Great Ascension Stage cultivator. Zhuge Shaosheng's heart palpitated when he recalled the scene at that time. He originally pretended to be Tian Hoyang and went to Wuchio City to kill all the remaining people from the Gate of Hell. However, he didn't expect to meet the palace envoy as soon as he entered Wuchio City. The Great Ascension Stage Palace envoy suddenly appeared. The powerful pressure that burst out made Zhuge Shaosheng unable to resist. At that time, he thought that he was going to die. However, Tian Jiansheng from Stargate hurriedly found him and saved his life. Although Muyu didn't know Tian Jiansheng's origin, he immediately transferred Mu Ling's vitality to Tian Jiansheng to help him recover from his injuries. At the same time, he took out the life-saving pill that Taoist Yindan gave him and let Tian Jiansheng take it. Who is this guy loyal to? Why would he risk his life to save old man Zhuge? Xiao Shui curiously jumped onto Tian Jinqing's body and tapped Tian Jinqing's chest with his finger. Then he swung his tail a few times and gathered the surrounding spiritual energy into Tian Jinqing's body. I don't know. He refused to explain himself. Although Mu Yu didn't have a good impression of the real Tian Jinqing, he could be sure that the original Tian Jinqing was dead. This was neither a demon soul nor Tian Jinqing himself. It belonged to another soul that was parasitic in Tian Jinqing's body. However, why this person would help him, Mu Yu still didn't understand. Tian Jinqing said that his original name was Long Qingyan, but Mu Yu didn't know who the so-called Long Qingyan was. When he was at the Stargate, Mu Yu wanted to kill this person of unknown origin, but he still planned to save this person first. He didn't know why, but he always felt that Long Qingyan looked familiar. This time, Long Qingyan would risk his life to save Zhuge Xiaosheng, which was even more unexpected. But what made Mu Yu even more surprised was that Long Qingyan had a technique that could escape from a Deshang stage master. Who was the so-called master behind him? Mu Yu could only put all the doubts aside for the time being. The current mystery could only be asked when Long Qingyan woke up. Fortunately, Zhuge Xiaosheng used a seventh-order medicinal pill to keep Long Qingyan's life in the beginning. Now that Mu Yu took over, he knew more about how to save people. Soon, Long Qingyan's life aura stabilized, and the injuries in his body were also under control. Mu Yu also breathed a sigh of relief. I think it won't be long before he wakes up. Mu Yu had been thinking about one thing. Because Long Qingyan's body and soul didn't match very well, especially his soul, which was very familiar. He always felt that he had seen it somewhere before. Unfortunately, Mu Yu wasn't familiar with the soul, so he couldn't determine the identity of the other party. Even Gomong couldn't be sure. Zhuge Xiaosheng glanced at old Jiang Yu in confusion, and then asked, Mu Yu, this fellow Taoist from the life and death sect is... Old Jiang Yu's aura was very cold and evil. After coming here, he just sat silently on the side and continued to meditate. As a member of the life and death sect, the unique aura on his body naturally couldn't be hidden from the experienced and knowledgeable Zhuge Xiaosheng. I forgot to introduce him. His name is Old Jiang Yu, a member of the life and death sect. Mu Yu introduced. Old Jiang Yu? This name... Zhuge Xiaosheng looked at old Jiang Yu in surprise. You're the #1 expert of the life and death sect a few decades ago. Old Jiang Yu? You're also from the life and death sect. Zhuge Xiaosheng obviously also knew of old Jiang Yu's reputation. After all, the matter of killing the life and death sect's leader could be said to be a hot topic in the cultivation world. At that time, Zhuge Xiaosheng also stood out in the cultivation world, so he naturally knew of this matter. Traitor, that's right. Old Jiang Yu opened his eyes and coldly replied. Zhuge Xiaosheng frowned. He didn't trust the people from the life and death sect because the life and death sect was also a member of the 8 sections. The 8 sects were now controlled by the third palace, so they were not friends but enemies. Mu Yu roughly explained what happened at the Gate of Hell. Zhuge Xiaosheng reluctantly nodded to old Jiang Yu as a greeting. If it wasn't for Mu Yu, he wouldn't have trusted old Jiang Yu. This time, everyone more or less suffered heavy injuries, so they immediately sat down cross-legged to recover. Mu Yu took out the spirit energy he collected from the twin corpse, for others to refine. The spirit energy that was swallowed by the black and white energy was quite pure. This spirit energy could be refined by everyone. As long as they calmly absorbed it, it could be completely converted into their own spirit energy. When Mu Yu opened his eyes, he was also very surprised. After refining the spirit energy of the transcending tribulation stage twins, his strength actually reached the 5th layer of transcending tribulation stage. This kind of technique that relied on swallowing other people's spirit energy to increase one's own cultivation was really strange. Even Mu Yu didn't know if there were any risks in doing this. He carefully sensed it, but he didn't notice anything unexpected. After the black and white spirit energy completely swallowed the twins' cultivation and then fed it back to Mu Yu, it actually increased his cultivation with half the effort. Xiao Shui bit an apple and sat on a rock in the distance. He crossed his legs and said, Muyu, does this mean that you can rely on swallowing other people's spirit energy to increase your own cultivation in the future? Muyu pondered for a moment and carefully sensed the situation in his body. Then he said, this is still very limited. Only by swallowing the spirit energy of transcending tribulation stage cultivators can my cultivation increase faster. Swallowing the spirit energy of body integration stage cultivators can't increase my cultivation at all. At most, I can only use it to recover my lost spirit energy. When swallowing others, Muyu had to be very focused and couldn't be interrupted. Therefore, it was impossible for him to swallow others at any time and place. It could be said that the drawbacks were very obvious. Tian ran open her eyes. She still looked a bit tired. She didn't say a word and flew to the top of the cliff in the valley. She sat on a rock with a sad expression. The wind at the top of the mountain was very strong. Tian Ran's dress fluttered in the wind. Muyu jumped over and sat next to Tian Ran. He said, silly girl, don't think too much. But my senior sisters were innocent. How could they kill Luo Shang and Xiang and just like that? Many of my senior sisters were very kind. It was only those elders who did evil. Those senior sisters didn't deserve to die. Tian Ran was in low spirits. She was very upset that such a large sect had been wiped out just like that. Many of the people in the Red Dust sect had grown up with her. Although the elders of the Red Dust sect forced Tian Ran to kill them, those senior sisters and junior sisters had nothing to do with it. Tian Ran couldn't bear to see them die just like that. Muyu looked at the ravaged valley overgrown with weeds. He didn't know how to comfort Tian Ran. In the past, he was worried that Tian Ran would be sad, so he gave up on the idea of finding trouble with the Red Dust sect. However, Luo Shang and Xiang didn't think too much about it. They directly went to wipe out the Red Dust sect. Luo Shang and Xiang didn't know you were still alive. They just wanted to avenge you, said Muyu. I know they did it for my own good, but I thought it would be fine as long as the elders of the Red Dust sect were subdued. They were the culprits, not my sisters. Tian Ran reached out and stroked a small blade of grass growing in a crack in the cliff. The grass was thin and weak, but it stubbornly took root in the crack of the cliff, illustrating the beauty of life. However, some lives were quickly blown away by the wind and no longer existed. Muyu looked at Tian Ran's sad expression and felt touched. Tian Ran didn't like the dead. Just like Muyu in the past, she naively believed that everything had its value and that no one had the right to take away another's life. Therefore, whether it was Muyu in the past or Tian Ran now, they both tried their best to be kind people. However, in the cultivation world, kind people often didn't have good endings. Muyu had learned this principle. Now, the only thing he could do was to use violence to solve problems, using violence to curb violence. However, Muyu couldn't tell Tian Ran how he felt. Tian Ran had always been an innocent girl. She was even more innocent than Muyu back in the Moyen Mountains. She hadn't experienced as much as Muyu, so she couldn't understand how Muyu felt. Muyu reached out and stroked Tian Ran's hair. He hoped that Tian Ran could understand all of this, but he also hoped that Tian Ran wouldn't be tainted by these things and lose her innocence. He said softly, I just want you to know one thing. The reason why the people of the Red Dust sect are so nice to you is because you inherited Master's talent. If you were just an ordinary person, the people of the Red Dust sect would have abandoned you like a pair of worn-out clogs. When you were forced by the Red Dust sect's elders, your senior sisters didn't stand up to help you. However, whether it's Luo Shang, Xiang Nan, Cheng Yin, or me, if anyone hurts you or your father, we will definitely take revenge. We, the people of Luochen Mountain, are willing to go against the entire cultivation world for the sake of our loved ones. You are a member of Luochen Mountain, not a member of the Red Dust sect. Talent wasn't the most important thing for the people of Luochen Mountain. For example, Elder Sun, whose talent was extremely poor, and Lan Linger, whose talent couldn't compare to the other senior brothers. As long as one became a member of Luochen Mountain, everyone was treated equally. Even when Elder Sun, who was in the Qi refinement stage, had just arrived and faced everyone with fear and trepidation, Everyone acknowledged Elder Sun and took the initiative to restrain their Jindan period auras, trying their best not to affect him. They also didn't put on the airs of a Jindan period expert in front of Elder Sun. Not to mention, when Luo Shang had returned to Luochen Mountain as a nascent soul cultivator, he had been rather well-behaved in front of Enshu. When he faced Jingyan, he had been a good junior brother. As for the Red Dust sect, and any other sects in the cultivation world that prioritized talent and cultivation, it was impossible for anyone to feel a sense of belonging. Tian Ran gritted her teeth. She knew that Muyu was right. In this world, the people who truly cared about her weren't the people of the Red Dust sect, but her fellow disciples of Luochen Mountain. This was because when the people of the Red Dust sect had forced her to cultivate the Red Dust emotionless mantra, her senior and junior sisters hadn't come to her rescue. Thank you. Tian Ran's expression eased a lot. She hadn't spent much time with her fellow disciples of Luochen Mountain, but she had stayed in Luochen Mountain for more than a year. She understood the atmosphere of Luochen Mountain and was very fond of the sect her father had created. That sect was different from other sects because Luochen Mountain was a home, not a place for infighting and scheming. Chapter 1033. Long Qingyan, who had helped Zhuge Shaoxing escape, finally woke up. When he woke up, his expression was still a little confused, but the moment he saw Muyu, his eyes revealed a trace of joy. He then struggled to stand up and was about to bow. Thank you, Master Muyu, for saving my life. Long Qingyan's expression was humble. Muyu let Long Qingyan lie down and said, You don't have to be so polite to me. I don't have a master-servant relationship with you. Long Qingyan still said respectfully, Master asked me to help you, so I'm willing to do anything for you. Muyu frowned. The master behind Long Qingyan always made him feel uncomfortable. Zhuge Shaoxing said from the side, Although I don't understand why, I still have to thank you. You helped me twice. Long Qingyan quickly said, Sect leader Zhuge, you don't have to thank me. Your life is much more important than mine. Muyu said in a low voice, You still won't tell me who your master is, right? Master said to let you know at the right time. I'm only responsible for carrying out orders. I really can't say anything else. Long Qingyan said. Muyu had a very strange impression of Long Qingyan. This person always gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. However, he knew that Long Qingyan would not be threatened by him. At this time, Long Qingyan helped Zhuge Shaoxing escape, so Muyu couldn't really ignore him. After a while, Muyu said, You helped us, so you definitely can't go back to Wuqiu City. You haven't recovered from your serious injuries. What's your next step? Did your master give you any instructions? Long Qingyan's eyes flashed with a strange look. Then he shook his head. I don't know. Master gave me the ability to save my life, so I can escape from the hands of a Deshang stage master. But in order to save Zhuge Shaoxing, I caused a problem with this ability, so I can only wait here for further instructions from Master. Muyu said coldly, Are you going to wait for death here? Long Qingyan did not answer, just lowered his head. Muyu snorted coldly. He couldn't casually leave the seriously injured Long Qingyan in this place. After all, according to Zhuge Shaoxing, Long Qingyan helped Zhuge Shaoxing cover up his identity when they were at the Stargate, and he even risked his life to rescue Zhuge Shaoxing from Wuqiu City. Muyu was not an ungrateful person. However, Muyu didn't want to always be followed by a person of unknown origin. He refused to tell his true identity, but was always willing to help them, which made Muyu feel very angry. How do you usually contact your master? Muyu asked. Long Qingyan replied, Usually, with a thought from my master, I will clearly know his orders and where to find him, because there is a special connection between me and my master. But what makes me feel very strange is that this connection seems to be cut off by something. Or rather, my lord, your body. Long Qingyan suddenly opened his eyes wide in surprise. He looked at Muyu and said, Lord Muyu, why do you have that kind of aura on your body? What kind of aura on my body? Muyu asked. Long Qingyan looked at Muyu with certainty. Then, as if he thought of something, he quickly asked, Lord Muyu, have you received the soul transference from the gate of hell? Muyu frowned. How do you know? Could it be that you're also a member of the Gate of Hell? Long Qingyan seemed to be a little flustered. He continued, My lord, I am not a member of the Gate of Hell. If you want to use the soul transference to revive Deadwood Evergreen, please don't do it. Muyu never thought that Long Qingyan would say this. After all, he knew that the soul transference could heal soul injuries from the Gate of Hell. However, almost no one knew that he was looking for the soul transference to heal Deadwood Daddy's soul. But how did Long Qingyan even know about this? Most importantly, Muyu had just received the soul transference not long ago. How did Long Qingyan know about it? Who the hell are you? You better not test my patience. Muyu grabbed Long Qingyan's collar. He would not treat the matter of Deadwood Daddy as a joke. As long as he could save Deadwood Daddy, he would do anything. Now that he had received the soul transference, what he wanted to do the most was to revive Deadwood Daddy. However, Long Qingyan said not to use it on Deadwood Daddy. This was intolerable to Muyu. Long Qingyan's collar was grabbed by Muyu. He had not fully recovered from his injuries and was very weak. Now that he was suppressed by Muyu's powerful aura, he almost couldn't breathe. However, Long Qingyan gritted his teeth and said, You can't use the soul transference. Otherwise, you will regret it. Stopping me from saving Deadwood Daddy is what you will regret the most, Muyu shouted angrily. Originally, because Long Qingyan had been helping him, Muyu was not willing to tell him the whereabouts of his master. Although Muyu was angry, he could barely accept it. However, now he had to figure out Long Qingyan's identity completely. Otherwise, his every move would be in the hands of some inexplicable person. Long Qingyan said anxiously, My lord, you can kill me, but if you use the soul transference on Deadwood Daddy, the consequences are not what you want to see. Give me a reason, Muyu said. Because. Long Qingyan stammered because he couldn't say it for a long time. The killing intent in Muyu's eyes grew stronger. He did not like to be disturbed by anyone when it came to Deadwood Daddy, not even Long Qingyan who helped him, because you absolutely do not want Deadwood Daddy to become like Long Qingyan. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded throughout the entire valley, reaching everyone's ears and causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Gu Jiangyu, who was resting on the side, also quickly rushed to Muyu's side, looking around as if he was facing a great enemy. Muyu stared at the figure in the distance, and then he was suddenly stunned. He saw a familiar middle-aged man. Tan Qingchuan. It was actually Tan Qingchuan. This person was the first person to stand up and support Muyu when he was in Yisan City, and he was also one of the first 23 people to leave Yisan City. Who the hell are you? Muyu stared at Tan Qingchuan, who was dressed in blue. This person's sudden appearance made Muyu feel extremely threatened. Although the other party did not deliberately display an oppressive aura, that kind of power was actually someone in the great ascension stage. Tan Qingchuan's aura was very indifferent. He looked at Muyu and said, Haven't you been looking for me? A blue light flashed across Tan Qingchuan's body, and in his calm eyes, there was a faint thunder and lightning. You? Are you? An image quickly flashed through Muyu's mind. It was the image he accidentally saw in a thunderstorm when he used Hai Dongxing's body to find the 9th person of eternal life. It was this figure. Then many thoughts flashed through Muyu's mind. When he thought of the soul returning to the mind, he exclaimed, Are you immortal in ILA? At this moment, a small figure suddenly appeared behind Tan Qingchuan. It was Qing Fan, who had been taken away by immortal in ILA. When Qing Fan saw Long Qingyan being caught by Muyu, she immediately ran over and shouted anxiously, Brother Air Mao, don't treat Grandpa City Lord like this. Grandpa City Lord is a good person. Grandpa City Lord? Muyu suddenly let go of Long Qingyan's collar and looked at Long Qingyan in shock. Long Qingyan breathed a sigh of relief and quickly walked to Immortal in ILA, knelt down, and said respectfully, Master. Muyu asked, Qing Fan, the Grandpa City Lord you just mentioned It's him. He is Grandpa City, Lord of Dongsha City. Master saved him. Little Qing Fan pulled Long Qingyan's clothes seriously. The City Lord of Dongsha City? Are you He Jinglong? the old city lord of Dongsha City? Muyu looked at Long Qingyan, who was kneeling on the ground in disbelief. Long Qingyan just lowered his head and didn't say much. Muyu turned his eyes to Tan Qingchuan and asked, "What's going on?" Tan Qingchuan's eyes fell on Long Qingyan, and then he sighed and said, "Qing Fan is right. He is Jinglong." Muyu's face changed slightly. He had always felt that Long Qingyan was inexplicably familiar, but he couldn't tell why. Now that he thought about it, Long Qingyan's movements did indeed resemble the old city lord He Jinglong style. But Muyu still couldn't believe it, because all of this was too incredible. How could the old city lord be Long Qingyan? "I need evidence," Muyu said in a deep voice. Tan Qingchuan reached out and pressed on Long Qingyan's head. Then he gently raised his hand, and an illusory soul was pulled out of Tian Jinqing's body and floated in the air. It was really He Jinglong, but at this time, He Jinglong's soul was strangely red and exuded a strange aura. That aura woke Muyu up. It was the aura of soul returning. You used soul returning to heart to control the old city lord. Muyu's heart surged with anger. The old city lord had always been a person he respected, but he didn't expect him to be controlled by Tan Qingchuan and become a servile servant. "Lord Muyu, don't blame Master. I can live because of Master," He Jinglong quickly said. Muyu shouted, "What's the difference between being controlled and being dead? I won't let you live like this." Tan Qingchuan looked at Muyu indifferently and said, "So you're willing to let Dead Tree Evergreen live like this?" Muyu was stunned and asked subconsciously, "What do you mean?" Tan Qingchuan slowly said, "A soul affected by the power of soul returning will become a loyal servant. They will be loyal to the person with soul returning and will be willing to follow any orders. They will be controlled like a puppet. I never thought of forcing He Jinglong to bow to me. All of this is because he is affected by soul returning to heart. That's why he is so respectful to me. It's a slave consciousness that comes from the soul. Even I can't force it to change all of this." Tan Qingchuan's hand flashed with blue lightning, and the soul extracted from Tian Jinqing's body was merged back into Tian Jinqing's body. He Jinglong stood to the side. Little Qing Fan kept holding his hand. He Jinglong looked at Little Qing Fan with eyes full of love, but he looked at Tan Qingchuan with eyes full of respect. Tan Qingchuan continued, "If you use soul returning to heart on Dead Tree Evergreen, when Dead Tree Evergreen sees you in the future, regardless of whether you agree or not, Dead Tree Evergreen will treat you as his master. Every time he sees you, he will kneel to you. Can you accept all of this?" "How can that be?" Muyu was shocked. How could he accept all of this? Dead Tree Evergreen was his father. Tan Qingchuan said, "Why do you think the gate of hell is trying so hard to find soul returning to heart? Bai Jia wants to reassemble the two parts of the soul transference to the heart transference. This way, he can fully unleash the power of the soul transference to the heart transference and control the entire cultivation world. This is much stronger than the perfect divine soul array you control." Muyu suddenly felt a wave of shock in his heart. Chapter 1034. It was no wonder that when he was in the 18th level of hell, he had obtained soul conversion, and the tortured souls were extremely respectful to him. So this was the reason. Those souls were affected by the power of soul conversion. Therefore, when Muyu obtained soul conversion, the tortured souls in the 18th level of hell regarded Muyu as their master. But Muyu still did not understand. Why do you have the old city lord's soul? While I was in Dongsha City, I just saved He Jinglong in passing. I know you want to use that ability to save He Jinglong, but if He Jinglong's soul enters the cycle of reincarnation, he can't be resurrected by you. At that time, I was compassionate, so I used soul conversion to save He Jinglong and the other 3 people. Tan Qingchuan explained simply. Muyu did not expect Tan Qingchuan to be the lightning-defying immortal. Tan Qingchuan was the first person to stand up when he was in Dongsha City, which meant that Tan Qingchuan had the ability to save Xian Zhengtang's family and He Jinglong. However, Tan Qingchuan did not do anything. Muyu suddenly felt a bitter taste in his heart. He thought back to how he had massacred so many people in Isan City, how he had caused so much carnage. All of this was something that Tan Xingchuan could have prevented, but Tan Xingchuan had chosen to stand by and watch. But then, Muyu's heart calmed down again. He did not continue to think about this problem, because he did not think there was anything wrong with slaughtering those people. Do you want to ask me why I didn't save the people of Dongsha City? Tan Xingchuan asked. Muyu just replied calmly, I don't want to know about the past. I just want to know how to repair my father's soul. Tan Xingchuan looked a little surprised. Don't you want to know why I didn't do anything? Muyu said indifferently. So what if I know? What happened has happened. I can't change what has happened, so I don't want to ask you why you didn't do anything. Maybe Tan Xingchuan could have stopped all of this and prevented a massacre. But just like what Muyu had told his grandfather, Mu Qianhe, in Qingshui City, he did not want to say anything. He didn't like to use maybe for many things. There was no maybe in life. Instead of questioning the past, it was better to look at the present. This was Muyu's attitude towards life, so he could forgive Mu Tianhe's mistakes. Tan Xingchuan nodded thoughtfully. No wonder you were able to change Deadwood Evergreen's personality. I've always wondered what kind of disciple Deadwood Evergreen took in for him to be willing to risk his life to protect you. I finally understand now. When many people learn of the truth, they would angrily question why Tan Xingchuan didn't do anything when he had the ability to prevent the destruction of Eastern Sand City. However, Muyu didn't do anything. He was very calm. Since there was no pill for regret in this world, Muyu liked to look forward to everything. Although Muyu didn't ask further, Tan Xingchuan still explained, I'm an immortal. Although I haven't lived as long as your master, I'm not short either. Over the past few thousand years, I've seen countless deaths. Life is just a fleeting cloud to me. I don't care about the life and death of cultivators. I'm not your master. I don't have such a grand heart. So whether it's He Jinglong, Xian Zhengtong's family, or the destruction of Eastern Sand City, I don't want to interfere. Zhuge Xiaosheng and Jiang Yu were both moved. They looked at Tan Xingchuan with deep respect. This was a senior who had truly lived for thousands of years. He naturally had the most right to speak about life. Then you also don't want to fight against the White Realm? Tian Ran asked from his side. Tian Ran was still a kind girl. Something like slaughter was still very difficult for her to accept. Tan Xingchuan looked at Tian Ran and smiled. You are Jianing Chun Feng's daughter? Yes. Tian Ran didn't avoid anything. You are indeed a dragon among men. You are very similar to your father. Tan Xingchuan nodded thoughtfully. Then, he said, life is moving forward. Only with death can there be new life. When I was young, I also wanted to save those people. But later, I gradually realized that many times I was powerless. Even if I saved them, my lifespan was longer than theirs. In the end, I had to watch them die. Do you understand this feeling? Everyone was silent. No one had lived for as long as Tan Xingchuan, so they couldn't understand this kind of state of mind. We can't stop the destruction of life. The cultivation world has its own rules of development. We eternal people shouldn't interfere. When someone tries to break the rules of the cultivation world, we have to take action. So, I will fight against the White Realm. But I don't want to interfere with the choice made by the cultivators of Eastern Sand City. Whether they kill or surrender, it's their own decision. I've seen too much life and death. The death of a few people doesn't affect me. Whether it's He Jinglong or Xian Zhengtong's family, their lives don't have much weight to me. Tan Xingchuan looked at He Jinglong. He Jinglong awkwardly lowered his head. His face was a bit red, but he didn't dare to complain. Muyu coldly said, to me, the lives of the old city lord and Xian Zhengtong's family are more valuable than the lives of everyone in Eastern Sand City. He Jinglong looked at Muyu with gratitude. In his eyes, Muyu is indeed a special person. You are the same as Jianing and Chunfeng. Both of you are loyal. Jianing and Chunfeng have lived longer than all of us, but he won't be tired of life. He will still save those who are worth saving. So he is a great person. I am not. Tan Xingchuan calmly said. He didn't think it was inappropriate to say these things. After a while, Tan Xingchuan said, I decided to help you because of Jianing, Chunfeng, and Deadwood Evergreen. I saved Yi Jinglong and Xianzheng Tong's souls. Whether it's Jianing, Chunfeng, or Deadwood Evergreen, I admire both of them. Deadwood Evergreen and Tan Qingchuan weren't people of the same era, but they still had some interactions. For Deadwood Evergreen to be admired by an old senior like Tan Qingchuan was enough to show Deadwood Evergreen's abilities. Do you have a way to save my dad? Muyu looked at Tan Qingchuan. He didn't want to ask about Eastern Sand City. He just wanted to know how to save Deadwood Daddy. Now that he had obtained Soul Converge, Tan Qingchuan was one of the 9 immortals. He was mysterious and unfathomable. Perhaps he could save Deadwood. Tan Qingchuan didn't directly answer Muyu. Instead, he indifferently walked to a rock and sat down with a wave of his sleeve. He looked around the dilapidated valley. This was originally the place where Deadwood Evergreen lived in seclusion. He sighed. So many years have passed in a flash. I didn't expect you to grow to this level. When I first met you, you were just a lively Jindan period youth who didn't know much about the world. Muyu frowned. You've seen me before? Tan Qingchuan laughed. Don't you recognize me? We first met in Deadwood Evergreen's Valley. At that time, this place was gloomy and filled with poisonous fog. We also worked together to find a way to break Deadwood Evergreen's mirror array, didn't we? Muyu suddenly had a flash of light in his mind. He looked at Tan Qingchuan in disbelief. Are you old Tan? Xiao Shuai also exclaimed. No wonder I felt that you were so familiar. It turns out that you were the person hiding in the cave. When Muyu first entered Deadwood Valley, he was walking in the fog when he met a middle-aged man who claimed to be looking for Deadwood Evergreen, but had been trapped by the mirror array for a long time. At that time, Muyu used his keen observation to find the flaw in the mirror array and told Old Tan a way out. Then he also wanted to leave the valley, but he was thrown into the depths of the valley by Deadwood Evergreen. Finally, he saw Soul Converge for the first time. He didn't expect that Old Tan, who was only at the Yuaning realm at that time, was actually the immortal Ni Lei that Muyu had been looking for so many years. Old Tan, Tan Qingchuan, immortal Ni Lei, are you all? At that time, Old Tan showed his low cultivation in front of Muyu. Muyu didn't expect that Old Tan was immortal Ni Lei at all. Now that he thought about it, he was afraid that immortal Ni Lei was just helping Deadwood Evergreen and playing with Muyu. Tan Qingchuan smiled. Back then, Withered Tree Evergreen had suffered serious injuries in order to snatch the soul returning technique from Ghost Gate. He could no longer suppress the soul returning technique, so he asked me for help. At that time, you just happened to break into the valley. At that time, I had nothing to do, so I wanted to see if this formation of Withered Tree Evergreens would work, so I disguised it. I didn't expect you to be so good that you robbed Deadwood Evergreen. You're right. I was observing you the whole time. When you merged into the Celestial Demon Tree, I guessed your identity. I also told Deadwood Evergreen where you went. Muyu was a little stunned. He didn't know about these things, let alone that he had seen Immortal Ni Lei during the Jindan period. What's your real name? Muyu was not in the mood to recall anything with the other party. He had seen the soul returning to the mind that he had been looking for. He had never thought that he had seen the defying Thunder Immortal that he had been looking for. It was like a joke, which made him a little annoyed. But thinking back to the massacre in Dongsha City, he should have thought of this long ago. When Muyu first saw Tan Qingchuan, he felt very familiar. Not only because Tan Qingchuan was the first to stand up for him, but also because he seemed to have seen some of Tan Qingchuan's words and actions. Unfortunately, he was affected by the power of slaughter at that time, and only wanted to avenge the old city lord and Xianzheng Tong's family. In addition, Tan Qingchuan was completely different from the man in the valley, so Muyu didn't doubt Tan Qingchuan's identity. Tan Qingchuan said slowly, Ni Lei is my Taoist name, and Tan Qingchuan is my real name. Of course, if you want, you can call me Old Tan. Muyu snorted. When he was in the valley, he didn't know Tan Qingchuan's identity, so he habitually called him Old Tan, but now it was a little unreasonable to call him Old Tan. Muyu's principle was very simple. No matter what the other party's cultivation was, if people respected him, he would respect them tenfold. If people wanted to harm him, he would kill them. After all, Tan Qingchuan had helped him, so he habitually lowered his posture and said, "Senior and Ile, are you sure you can say my father?" Ah. Chapter 1035. Tan Qingchuan was silent for a moment. Then he looked at He Jinglong and said, "Soul conversion can restore Deadwood's soul, but soul conversion will turn Deadwood into He Jinglong. I don't think you will be willing to do that." He Jinglong moved a bit. His eyes were humble, and his expression was respectful. He wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, he did not say anything. Tan Qingchuan continued, "Although I am a great ascension stage cultivator, it does not mean that I can go against the heavens and change my fate. I'm not a true god like Jianing and Qinfeng. I'm still looking for a way to restore the soul, but I cannot casually make a move in a place with many people. Once I make a move and leave a trace, Bai Jie can find me. I am not Bai Jie's opponent." Mu Yu clenched his fist, looked at the old city lord and said, "If I use life and death to revive the old city lord in the blink of an eye, will he be able to break free from the control of soul conversion?" Tan Qingchuan shook his head. "No, his soul has been tainted by the power of soul conversion. Even if you revive He Jinglong, he will only obey anyone who has soul conversion. That kind of connection cannot be cut off. The drawback of soul conversion is very big. It does not belong to this world, and anything that has soul conversion will be consumed at a faster rate. The soul will also dissipate quickly." Mu Yu's heart felt terrible. She had worked so hard for so long, and she had finally obtained soul conversion. She did not expect to be told that she could not use it to save Deadwood's father. That was hard to accept. Would the old city lord be like this too? Mu Yu asked worriedly. Mu Yu was very clear about the old city lord's character. He did not want anything to happen to the old city lord. Tan Qingchuan said, "If you want to make the soul-crossing heart transference magic treasure last, you have to ensure that the soul-crossing heart transference magic treasure is intact." So Bai Jian never dared to use half of the soul-crossing heart transference magic treasure to control people. The controlled people would quickly die. He Jinglong's soul wouldn't be able to hold on for long anyway. I was the one who forcefully helped him resist the soul conversion, so he had to return to my side regularly. If you don't want He Jinglong's soul to dissipate, you must restore the soul, transferring heart to a complete state. Tan Qingchuan's gaze landed on the soul transferring technique behind Mu Yu, which was wrapped by Mu Ling. Mu Yu looked at the old city lord's groveling appearance. He really couldn't accept it. With the old city lord's unyielding character, he wouldn't kneel to anyone, but the soul returning to the heart forcefully changed his will. You shouldn't have given orders to the old city lord. He isn't such a servile person, Mu Yu said in a deep voice. Tan Qingchuan glanced at He Jinglong and said, "I never thought of giving him an order. He was the one who said that he wanted to do something for you. It was also his request to have his soul transferred into Tian Jinqing's body. I have already warned him of the risks." He Jinglong looked at Mu Yu and said respectfully, "Lord Mu Yu, back then in Eastern Sand City, my decision interfered with your judgment and caused you to lose your rationality. I feel very guilty, so, as long as I can help you, I am willing to do anything. Please don't take it to heart. I am willing to help you." Mu Yu shook his head and said, "Old City Lord, you don't have to blame yourself. I couldn't control myself back then. If you hadn't decided to save the people of Eastern Sand City, I would have already slaughtered everyone in the city under the influence of the killing energy. This matter has nothing to do with you. If I had killed them earlier, at least you, Xin Zhengtang, and the others wouldn't have been in trouble. Back in Eastern Sand City, the old city lord was someone he respected very much. Now that things had turned out this way, he couldn't absolve himself of the blame." He Jinglong sighed in his heart and said, "As long as Lord Mu Yu is safe, everything is fine." The old city lord was an upright person who was willing to risk his life to protect his city. However, he was killed by those cowards in the city. Now, he understood many things and hoped that Mu Yu would be safe. "I also hope that Big Brother Air Mao is safe," Little Qing Fan said seriously. Mu Yu patted Little Qing Fan's head. Little Qing Fan was a brave and ordinary person in Eastern Sand City. Although he was young, He had the same unyielding character as the old city lord. The people Mu Yu wanted to protect now were the old city lord, little Qing Fan, and the others. Mu Yu said, "Is it true that as long as the soul to the heart becomes complete, the old city lord will no longer be eroded by the power of the soul to the heart and won't need to return to your side regularly and bow to you?" Tan Qingchuan nodded. Mu Yu sighed softly and placed the soul conversion technique in front of Tan Qingchuan. After trying so hard to find the soul conversion technique for so long, it was ultimately a waste of effort. However, controlling the soul conversion technique would make the person enslaved. Mu Yu would definitely not use such a terrifying thing on his father. This soul conversion technique was already useless to Mu Yu. Tan Qingchuan did not expect Mu Yu to give the soul conversion technique to him so easily. Originally, he was still thinking of how to persuade Mu Yu, but it was clear that he did not understand Mu Yu. A blue bolt of lightning appeared in Tan Qingchuan's hand and enveloped Mu Yu's soul conversion technique. He put it away and said, "You are really a strange person. I don't know if I'm strange or not, but I will think of another way to save Deadwood Daddy." Mu Yu was never discouraged. Repairing his father's soul and reviving Deadwood Daddy was something he had always wanted to do. If the soul conversion technique did not work, then he would think of another way. Tan Qingchuan stood up and said, "There are two parts of the soul conversion technique. If they fuse together, they will explode with a powerful demonic presence that will be easily detected by Bai Jie. Therefore, I will go to a safe place to fuse them together and then solve the problem of He Jinglong's soul. If you want to use life and death to revive He Jinglong in the blink of an eye, I will let him find you at the right time." Tan Qingchuan knew what Mu Yu wanted to do. He paused and said, "Also, I will protect the souls of Xian Zhengtang's family. When the time comes, you can revive them together." "Thank you," Mu Yu said. Whether it was for village chief Old Bu, Deadwood Daddy, Xian Zhengtang's family, or He Jinglong, Mu Yu had no reason to complain about Tan Qingchuan. Little Qing Fan said happily on the side, "Brother Air Mao, my master is a very good person." Tan Qingchuan patted Little Qing Fan's head and continued, "We don't have enough people. We can't gather our strength. Bai Jie is too strong. We can't beat him alone. Right now, we only need to find Ran Hunshi and gather the 9 people of eternal life to fight against Bai Jie." "Even you don't know who Ran Hunshi is?" Mu Yu frowned. Finding Venerable Ni Lei meant that they had found the 8 people of eternal life. If they could find Ran Hunshi, they would not need to rely on the extreme immortal tablet to deal with Bai Jie. But who was Ran Hunshi? Even Venerable Ni Lei did not know. In the Damage Valley, no one spoke. They just looked at the Grand Ascension realm, Tan Qingchuan, in awe. In this situation, Tan Qingchuan's existence was their hope. Everyone took his every word seriously. But among these people, only Mu Yu and Tan Qingchuan knew the situation in front of them the best. "I thought you knew who Ran Hunshi was," Mu Yu said. Tan Qingchuan suddenly thought of something. He looked at Zhuge Xiaosheng and Gu Jiangyu. His eyes fell on Gu Jiangyu and said, "You trust these people?" He knew the identities of Tian Ran and Zhuge Xiaosheng, but Tan Qingchuan was not sure about Gu Jiangyu. Gu Jiangyu pursed his lips and was about to leave without saying a word. Mu Yu said, "Gu Jiangyu, you don't have to leave." Gu Jiangyu stopped and said indifferently, "Eternal life is what the gate of life and death and the gate of hell have always wanted. You are not afraid that I will harm you if I know? The people of the gate of hell and the gate of life and death have always wanted the body and soul of the Demon King. They wanted to take the body of eternal life for themselves." Gu Jiangyu's words were very honest. Mu Yu calmly replied, "I said, I trust you. Your inexplicable trust will harm you sooner or later." Gu Jiangyu said. Mu Yu smiled. "At least the people I trust have never harmed me. Those who will harm me, I will never trust them. I am very good at judging people." Gu Jiangyu took a deep breath and said, "Trust is really a superfluous thing." But Gu Jiangyu did not avoid it this time. Mu Yu trusted Gu Jiangyu. Gu Jiangyu, who had passed the 9th layer of tribulation, was not to be underestimated. In the future, he would need to rely on his cultivation. Muyu had no reason not to trust him. Other than village chief Old Bu, the 9 of them were all very powerful. Nothing would happen to them easily. Since Gu Jiang you wanted to go to the formation sect, he would guess the identity of the far-sighted village chief Old Bu sooner or later. Tan Qingchuan said, "This person Ran Henshi, your master only told me his name. Other than that, I don't know anything else. Even the Azure Dragon Demon King and the others do not know. I heard that he left the 3rd layer of heaven to do something very important. It is related to the safety of the 3rd layer of heaven, so I have never had the chance to see him. Jianing Chunfeng only wanted me to protect village chief Old Bu, who raised you since you were young. The 9 immortals are very important existences. Lord Jianing Chunfeng hid this secret very deeply. My master did not leave you any hints?" Muyi said. Tan Qingchuan shook his head. As Sword Shadow Qinfeng's disciples, I thought that Sword Shadow Chunfeng would have left you with some hints. Muyu and Tian Ran looked at each other. Muyu said, "Master never told us about Ran Henshi. Master's accident was too sudden. Muyu and the others were not by Master's side. Master also did not tell them anything. Even Muyu only knew about the 9 immortals from the Azure Dragon Monster King. His master had never mentioned anything to them. Then you should go and ask your senior brother. Is it possible that he told someone about Ran Henshi's information?" Changyan, little Shuai said without thinking, because Muyu is not reliable. Changyan is more reliable. You talk too much. Muyu rudely rubbed little Shuai's head, but she also agreed with little Shuai's words. If Master would tell anyone about this matter, it would definitely be Changyan. This was because Changyan was the most reliable person. Whether it was Muyu, Luo Shang, or Xiangnan, when they faced the killing power, they could not control it as well as Qingyan. Since the 9 of them were so important, Qingyan was definitely the most trustworthy. Tan Qingchuan nodded. You will need to figure this out. I will also do my best to find Ran Henshi's whereabouts. Azure Dragon Demon King is still looking for Heavenly Heaven Demon King. If we want to fight against Bai Jie, the 9 of them are very important. None of us are Bai Jie's match because Bai Jie is not only relying on himself, but also the people behind him. Chapter 1036. Tan Qingchuan said, "Then what are you going to do next? If I can't find Ran Henshi, I will think of a way to control the 9 Xian immortals and not give Bai Jie any chance." Muyu destroyed the Stargate and the Gate of Hell for the extreme immortal steel. If he couldn't find Ran Henshi, he couldn't activate the 9 heavens reversal formation. He could only rely on the 9 Xian immortals to fight against Bai Jie. After all, the future of the cultivation world is still in the hands of people like you. We Deshang stage people can't make a move at will. Once we make a move, we'll be targeted by Bai Jie. Because the domain ability of the Deshang stage fluctuates violently, it will leave traces. Ordinary cultivators may not be able to perceive it, but Deshang stage cultivators can easily detect each other. You're different from us. With your talent and ability, it won't be easy for Bai Jie to find you. Tan Qingchuan was quite helpless. Even in the Great Ascension stage, Bai Jie's strength stood at the peak. He had the powerful and mysterious Heaven Keeper as his backer. If Bai Jie wanted to make a move on Tan Qingchuan and other Great Ascension stage cultivators, he must have the ability to do so. I understand. I'm already very grateful that you can help me so much. Muyu knew that everyone had their own difficulties. There was no need to force anything. He looked at He Jinglong and said, "Old City Lord, don't worry. I will revive you." He Jinglong quickly said, "Lord Muyu, just call me Muyu. I am not used to being called Lord." Muyu had always been very respectful to the Old City Lord. The Old City Lord was a senior who dared to take the lead. He was full of passion and determination. However, he was harmed by a villain and failed to realize his ambition. Now, the cultivation world needed such a person. He Jinglong hesitated for a moment and said, "Muyu, it doesn't matter if something happens to me. What's important is that you live. The future of the cultivation world is in your hands." Muyu didn't care about the future of the cultivation world. He just wanted to resurrect Deadwood Daddy, save his master, and destroy the Sanchon Palace. These were his current thoughts. He was not that great. Back then, he naively wanted to protect the entire cultivation world and prove that he was a person. But now, he only wanted to protect the people he should protect. That was all. But Muyu still said, I will. Old City Lord, don't put yourself in danger in the future. I will find a way to protect myself. Don't worry. Rest well. I'll handle the rest myself. However, Muyu naturally wouldn't say these words out loud. After a pause, Muyu said to Little Ching Fan, Little Ching Fan, cultivate well. In the future, you can also do what you want to do. Do you understand? Little Ching Fan said firmly, I will, brother Air Mao. Little Shuai laughed and put his little hand on Little Ching Fan's shoulder, saying, Little Ching Fan, the next time we see you, you must have enough strength to kill enemies with us. Do you understand? Okay, brother to Mao. Little sister Chensi and I will work hard. Little Ching Fan nodded. Little sister Chensi? Muyu and Little Shuai were stunned. Tian Ren also exclaimed, Is it that little girl in Chun'an City? When they were in Chun'an City, Little Chensi was originally going to enter the Red Dust sect. But at that time, Tian Ren cultivated the art of forgetting emotion and rejected Little Chensi. Until now, Tian Ren still felt very guilty. Tan Qingchuan smiled slightly. I also accepted Little Chensi. But she needs to cultivate now and didn't come out. Thank you. Muyu also breathed a sigh of relief. Little Chensi, that innocent child, was the same as Little Ching Fan. They were both worth cultivating. After a pause, Muyu said again, Old City Lord, next time you take the souls of Xian Zhongtang's family to the Pill Cauldron sect and wait for me. Your bodies have been placed in the Pill Cauldron sect. Okay. He Jinglong nodded. Tan Qingchuan glanced at the others, then waved his sleeve and left the valley with the Old City Lord and Little Ching Fan. After they left, Zhuge Xiaosheng and the others finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although Tan Qingchuan did not exert the pressure of a Deshang stage, they were still in awe of him. Muyu, we should go back. Tian Ran pulled Muyu's hand and said, Okay. Muyu also left the valley with everyone and headed towards the Erase sect. When he returned to the Erase sect, Master Lu hurriedly ran over and said, Muyu, your family from Clearwater City has come to our Erase sect. When Master Lu was in Clearwater City, he had also seen Muyu's family, so he knew the identity of these people. Muyu was surprised. They came here. Yes, they came 3 days ago. In order to avoid any accidents, I arranged for them to stay in a manor next to the array hall. Master Lu looked curiously at Gu Jiangyu behind Muyu. His face was a little bewildered because Gu Jiangyu was also a tribulation stage expert. However, when he saw Zhuge Xiaosheng and Muyu, both of them did not say anything, so it was not his turn to worry. Sectmaster, you arrange a place for Gu Jiangyu to stay first. I'll go see my family. Muyu said. Zhuge Xiaosheng nodded. He knew how powerful Gu Jiangyu was and how strange the martial arts of the people from the Life and Death sect were. However, since Muyu believed in Gu Jiangyu, he did not say anything. It was naturally better for him to arrange a place for Gu Jiangyu, who was in the tribulation stage, to stay. Tian Ran suddenly pulled Muyu, who was in a hurry to see his family, and said, Muyu, is your family here? Muyu nodded and replied, Yes. It's good that they came to the Erase sect. I should have brought them here long ago. Now, in the cultivation world, only the Erase sect and the Pill Cauldron sect can resist the invasion of the Sanchong Palace. So it's good that they came here. You can also go see my grandfather and father. Tian Ran's face suddenly turned red and said softly, But I didn't prepare anything. Muyu asked in confusion, What do you want to prepare? Master Lu laughed and said, Muyu, what should I say to you? Why are you so confused? How can a daughter-in-law be careless when meeting her father-in-law? Muyu suddenly understood. Oh, so that's how it is. He didn't think it was a big deal. He took Tian Ran's hand and said, It doesn't matter. They're easy to get along with. They're all on the same side. You don't have to be polite. Let's go. After that, he didn't care about anything else and followed Master Lu to the manor. This manor was located at the foot of a mountain in the Erase sect. The scenery was unique and the location was excellent. It was once a residence specially built for Muyu by the Array sect. However, Muyu was not in the Array sect all year round, so it had been empty. He had just arrived at the manor when Uncle Mu, who was sitting on a chair at the entrance and basking in the sun while instructing a few servants to sweep the floor, saw Muyu at a glance. He quickly stood up and said excitedly, "Young Master Muyu is back." As he spoke, he shouted to the other servants, "Come and pay your respects to young Master Muyu." Uncle Mu himself was about to take the lead and kneel down to greet him. After all, Muyu's status was extremely noble now. Just the title of the disciple of a true god was enough to make him revere him, not to mention that he now knew that Muyu was the master of the Array sect. There was a difference in status and couldn't be careless. However, Muyu quickly supported Uncle Mu and said, "Uncle Mu, there is no need to be so polite in the future. We are all on the same side." Muyu had a very good impression of Uncle Mu. Uncle Mu was a loyal and devoted old butler who had followed Mu Tianhe since a long time ago. When the Mu clan was in dire straits, the monkeys scattered when the tree fell, and only Uncle Mu remained. It was also Uncle Mu who used his own money to maintain the Mu clan's expenses. Now, they also treated Uncle Mu as a true member of the Mu clan and didn't treat him as a servant. "Thank you, young Master Muyu. I will immediately inform Master and the others." Uncle Mu knew that Muyu was a very easygoing young master who didn't put on airs. He was also very happy and hurriedly ran into the manor. Not long after, Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing walked out of the main hall. Both of them were smiling from ear to ear. "Muyu, you're back? That's great." Mu Tianhe laughed heartily. "That's right. We were wondering if we would disturb the Array sect, but it seems like we worried too much." Mu Zhixing looked at his son with a gratified gaze. Muyu went forward and nodded at Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing. "Grandfather, father, coming here is equivalent to coming back to your own home. There is no need to be too restrained. Right, we're the rest of the Mu clan." The servants behind Uncle Mu were also from the Mu clan. This time, the entire Mu clan seemed to have migrated. "Brother Muyu." Mu Xian ran over excitedly from behind and threw herself into Muyu's arms. "Little Xian, good girl." Muyu carried Mu Xian and pinched her little cheeks. Mu Hao also ran over excitedly. Mu Qing Fan was also with him. Mu Zhixing looked at Muyu with a smile. Only after coming to the Array sect did he understand what Muyu meant to the Array sect. This huge sect was managed by Muyu. As a father, he was very happy that his son was so successful. He then replied, "The entire Mu clan has migrated here. The others are settling in their own residences. We have to thank Master Lu. He specially arranged accommodation for us in the Array sect." Master Lu hurriedly said, "No need, no need. This is what I should do." Mu Tianhe laughed and said, "Muyu, you're finally back. We didn't want to disturb you, but your in-law seemed to have something to do. He brought us here and then left in a hurry." "In-law?" Muyu slapped his head. He just remembered that he and the White Ape Demon King had agreed that Xiang then would bring the Sand Eagle Demon King's heart back in 3 months. However, because of many troubles from Yumon's attempt to assassinate Zhuge, Xiaoshang to the Pill Cauldron sect to Tian Ran, he didn't have time to find Xiang Nan. As a result, Muyu still hadn't fulfilled his promise. Moreover, Muyu still didn't know where Xiang Nan was. Mr. White didn't say anything, did he? Muyu asked carefully. He knew that he had broken his promise. Although he and the White Ape Demon King didn't like each other, Muyu still felt a little guilty. He didn't look happy when he came. He kept saying that he wanted to settle the score with you. "Muyu, don't offend your in-law. Otherwise, your relationship with him will be bad in the future," Mu Tianhe said worriedly. Tian Ran poked her head out and looked around. Finally, she blinked and asked, "Brother Muyu, you have an in-law?" Chapter 10:37. Tian Ran, this. Muyu felt a headache and began to regret it. He thought that he should have listened to Master Lu's words and let Tian Ran prepare first. No matter what Tian Ran was going to prepare, at least give Muyu a chance to let him talk to his family first and not mention the matter of marriage. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain. "It seems that there will be a good show. "I've prepared the melon seeds," Xiao Shuai said, jumping up and down. He turned into a child again, holding a handful of melon seeds in his hand, as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. Muyu couldn't wait to kick him. He quickly pulled Tian Ran and said to the others, "Let me introduce you. This is Tian Ran." Tian Ran gracefully bowed to Muyu and said with a smile, "Hello, Grandpa. I'm Muyu's junior sister. My name is Tian Ran." Mu Tianhe looked at Tian Ran in surprise. Tian Ran looked very lively, beautiful, and pure. Mu Tianhe's eyes lit up. "Hello. Our Muyu is really lucky." "Wait, you are Muyu's junior sister? Then could your master also be?" "Yes, my master is a true god. He has the same master as Muyu. He didn't even want to tell my family about it. No wonder he didn't want me to prepare. He even has a marriage. As his junior sister, I didn't know." Tian Ran looked at Muyu meaningfully. Muyu heard the sour tone in Tian Ran's words and felt a headache. He quickly pretended to pull Tian Ran and said, "Xiao Xian, this is Sister Tian Ran. Tian Ran, this is my sister. You should get along well." "Hello, Sister Tian Ran," Mu Xian said happily. Tian Ran also smiled and said, "Hello, Sister Xiao Xian." Mu Tianhe, on the other hand, was flattered. Unlike other self-cultivators, his family believed in the true God because of Muyu. Now, another disciple of the true God had appeared and called him Grandpa in such a lively manner, which made him unable to remain calm. "Hey, a true God's disciple. I'm fine. Miss Tian Ran, right? Why do I seem to have heard this name somewhere?" Mu Tianhe seemed to think of something and smiled apologetically to Tian Ran. "Miss Tian Ran, I have something to say to Muyu. Please wait a moment." Then he quickly pulled Muyu to the side and walked away from Tian Ran. Then he asked in a low voice, "Muyu, I heard about what happened in Chun'an City a while ago. Everyone is saying that the heavenly girl of the red dust sect fell in love with you and helped you escape. I remember that she is also called Tian Ran. What's going on?" Mu Zhixing also came up and asked curiously, "Muyu, is this Tian Ran the other girl you told me about last time?" Muyu felt that things had become a mess. The white ape demon king shamelessly came to his house and called him in-law. Now, how could he explain the matter of Tian Ran to his family? Muyu secretly glanced at Tian Ran, who was still smiling not far away. He was also afraid and immediately said, "Yes, Tian Ran is indeed the heavenly girl of the red dust sect." She is really the heavenly girl of the red dust sect, one of the 8 sects? How could she be your junior sister? Mu Tianhe asked in confusion. Whether it was the heavenly girl of the red dust sect or the disciple of a true god, to Mu Tianhe, the head of a small family in Clearwater City, they were both huge mountains. He did not dare to neglect them. Mu thought about it. This matter had to be told eventually. Since he already treated Tian Ran as one of his own, there was no need to hide anything. He said, "Grandfather, father, Tian Ran is my master's daughter. My master and a heavenly girl of the red dust sect had given birth to Tian Ran. Tian Ran grew up in the red dust sect, but she is no longer a member of the red dust sect. She has already acknowledged her ancestors and is a member of the falling dust sect." "What? Tian Ran is..." Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing were both shocked. Mu Tianhe was so shocked that he did not recover for a long time. "Your master's daughter? Isn't that the true god's daughter? Oh my god, is this true? Furthermore, Tian Ran and I are in love." "This is true," Muyu said with certainty. Mu Tianhe's face twitched, and his beard almost stood up. He hurriedly asked, "You like the true god's daughter? Then what about Mr. Bai's daughter?" "Mr. Bai has helped our Mu family a lot. Although his status is ordinary and far from the true gods, he has still helped our Mu family." One had to know that a while ago, he and Mr. Bai had been exchanging insights and calling each other brothers. Now that Muyu had brought back an even more respectable young lady, this was not good. Little Shuai laughed at the side. "That old hairy monkey's status is not ordinary. Do you know who he is?" "Who?" Mu Tianhe asked subconsciously. Muyu thought about it and decided to reveal everything. After all, there was nothing to hide now. Mr. Bai is one of the 10 great demon kings, the White Ape Demon King. Xiao Shui is from the demon race, Mu Yu said softly. Huh? Mr. Bai is a demon king? Mu Tianhe sucked in a cold breath. His mouth was wide open, and he could not close it for a long time. He might not have believed it if other people had said it, but when Mu Yu said it, he was shocked. Compared to him, Mu Zhixing was much calmer. He had already guessed who Mr. Bai was, but he had not guessed who Tian Ran was. Mu Tianhe looked very nervous. His forehead was sweating, and he did not know where to put his hands. Does that mean I was with a demon king a while ago? Oh my god, what the hell did I do? Back then, the white ape demon king stayed in the Mu mansion to protect them. Mu Tianhe was completely unaware of the white ape demon king's identity. The two of them chatted happily every day, calling each other in-laws. The white ape demon king was also a carefree guy who didn't care about trifles. He chatted with Mu Tianhe happily. Now that Mu Tianhe thought about it, he didn't even realize that he had called the old monster white ape, who had lived for thousands of years, brother. He must have eaten a leopard's guts. It is a good thing I did not say anything to offend the white ape demon king. If I did, offending a demon king would be very scary. Mu Tianhe thought about it, and he was sure he had been very polite. He could only blame Mu Yu's friends for being so powerful. He said, Mu Yu, next time, you should tell me more about the people you were friends with. That way, I can relax a little. Don't neglect any important people. You get used to it. Mu Yu is not a normal person. His friends are not ordinary people. Dad, you should have thought of this. I told you a long time ago, but you didn't care, Mu Zhixing said. I was too narrow-minded. Mu Tianhe shook his head. Mu Tianhe shook his head. He vaguely knew what Mu Yu had done in the cultivation world in the past. Last time, the Tier 5 alchemist from the Pill Cauldron sect, Kai Lai, treated him with great respect, which made him feel flattered. Not to mention that the entire Array sect belonged to Mu Yu. His master was already familiar with the True God and the Poison King, Deadwood Evergreen. In the end, he even quietly invited an old monster king to the Mu residence as a guest. Mu Tianhe was only the head of a small family. How could he have thought that he would have the opportunity to meet the true gods of the 3 continents and the white ape demon king? He remembered the white ape demon king's angry face when he talked about Mu Yu before he left. He said uneasily, Mr. Bai, the white ape demon king, said he would settle accounts with you before he left. You have offended a demon king. Are you okay? Mu Yu said helplessly, Don't worry, Grandpa. The white ape demon king means us no harm. You don't have to worry. He's always been like that. I've heard so many threats. I'll explain it to him next time. That's true. But when I think about your future in-laws being a true god and a demon king, Mu Tianhe was still scared. The white ape demon king was not the one who scared him the most. He got along well with the white ape demon king. A true god was an existence revered by everyone. Mu Tianhe was just an insignificant out-of-body cultivator. How could he have dared to make connections with such people? Mu Zhixing said, Dad, Mu Yu is promising. You should be happy that both the true god's daughter and the demon king's daughter fell in love with him. No matter who they are, the important thing is that Mu Yu and the 2 girls like each other. Yes, I said I wouldn't interfere with your marriage. But the girls you like are not ordinary people. Mu Tianhe stole a glance at Tian Ran and saw her smiling at him from afar. Mu Tianhe hurriedly returned the smile in awe. Then, he moved closer to Mu Yu's ear and whispered, Mu Yu, tell Grandpa, how are you going to face these 2 girls? After all, these 2 girls are not to be trifled with. Their fathers are too powerful. It's normal for a man to have multiple wives and concubines, but the problem is who is the wife and who is the concubine. Would a true god and a demon king agree to let their daughters be married off as concubines? Mu Yu touched his forehead. Grandpa, it's too early to think about this. Let's not think about it for now, okay? Mu Yu had been avoiding this question, but Mu Tianhe always thought about it more than he did. He would cross that bridge when he came to it. He was thinking about discussing it later. Mu Zhixing also said, Dad, you don't have to worry about Mu Yu. Mu Yu knows what he's doing. Mu Tianhe was still worried. Then I'll feel uncomfortable when I see my granddaughter-in-law in the future. There's always a barrier in my heart. Tian Ran came over and said cheerfully, Grandpa, you're Muyu's grandpa. I'm with Muyu, so you're my grandpa. Don't worry. Mu Tianhe was startled. He didn't expect Tian Ran to come over. He quickly smiled apologetically. Miss Tian Ran, I'm afraid I can't accept you calling me grandpa. You're the daughter of a true god, and a true god is much older than me. If you call me grandpa, my lifespan will be shortened. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Muyu patted Mu Tianhe's back and said, Don't worry, grandpa. Tian Ran is one of us. She's easy to get along with. Yes, grandpa. If Muyu bullies me in the future, I'll ask you for justice. Tian Ran said with a smile. Mu Tianhe chuckled dryly. It wasn't his turn to preside over justice. However, he still nodded seriously. Yes, don't worry. If Muyu dares to bully you, I'll do justice for you. Although I can't beat Muyu, I'll still scold him. Then I'll thank Grandpa first. I want to see Sister Qiao Shui next time. Tian Ran looked at Muyu meaningfully. Chapter 1038. Mu Tianhe hurriedly said, Muyu, we just came to the Array faction not long ago and need to familiarize ourselves with the environment. Let's go see the scenery. You guys chat. Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing tacitly walked out of the manor. They couldn't get involved in this kind of thing. Muyu also shouted, Grandpa, Father, wait for me. I'll show you around. I'm the most familiar with the Array faction. I'm so familiar with it that I can go anywhere. Tian Ran, play with little Xin. You guys can get to know each other. If you want to prepare something, you can go prepare it. He hurriedly ran over and guiltily led Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing away. He had to collude with them first. Just now, it was Tian Ran who wanted to prepare. This time, it was him who wanted to think about how to prepare. You can't hide forever. Tian Ran only snorted softly, but didn't stop them. After leaving the manor, Muyu had a headache. Grandpa, Father, it's urgent. Think of a way to explain it to Tian Ran. Muyu running away now was of course an expedient. No matter how far he ran, he was still in the Array faction. He could run away, but the temple couldn't. When he returned, he still had to face Tian Ran. He had been thinking about how to solve this problem along the way. He was still counting on Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing to help him. After all, with the shameless white ape demon king's interference, he couldn't clear his name even if he jumped into the sea. Mu Zhixing said helplessly, I won't interfere with who you like. This is your mother's idea. After being comforted by Muyu, Mu Tianhe also thought it through. Instead, he felt that Muyu being together with the daughters of the true god and the white ape demon king's daughter was a matter of pride. Mu Tianhe was so happy that his face ballooned. He said with a smile of exultation, Of course, I want to marry both of them and bring our Mu family to greater heights. Let me hold a few great-grandchildren and give birth to a few little Muyu. Muyu was also quite helpless about Mu Tianhe's thoughts. It was unlikely that he would be able to hold a grandchild. Now, he was thinking about how to explain it to Tian Ran. Tian Ran won't be angry. Muyu thought so. Xiao Shui nodded and said heartlessly, Tian Ran will at most press you against the wall again. Then you can act like a hooligan and hug her and kiss her. It's not like it's the first time you've done this, so it's not a big deal. Muyu laughed. Why did Xiao Shui make such a harmonious thing sound so bad? Mu Tianhe thought of something and said guiltily, Oh right, Muyu. I heard from Mu how that the old mister who raised you is also in the Array sect. You know that it was my fault, so I should thank him in person. But I heard that the old mister has a special identity, so I wanted to wait for you to come back before looking for him. This way, it wouldn't be too abrupt. I don't know if he will see me, but thanks to him, I really regret it. Muyu didn't care much about the past. He cherished the people he already knew, including village chief Old Bu. He smiled and said, It's okay, let bygones be bygones. I also need to go to the Array Hall, so you guys can get to know each other. He then took Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing to the Array Hall. Village chief Old Bu had an important identity, so he lived in the Array Hall in case of any accidents. When they arrived at the Array Hall, Zhuge Xiaosheng hadn't returned yet. Village chief Old Bu was chatting with Mu Hao. Mu Hao usually cultivated in the Array Hall, and now he was already in the nascent soul stage. Because Muyu was raised by village chief Old Bu, Mu Hao, who worshipped Muyu, would often pester village chief Old Bu to ask about Muyu's past, so as to give him some motivation to cultivate. When village chief Old Bu talked about Muyu's deeds, he wouldn't be able to finish it even if he talked for 10 days and 10 nights. In his mind, he could think of all kinds of strange stories and then change the main character to Muyu. He killed all kinds of demons and devils to uphold justice. When he met bad people, he would fight them and never lost. When Muyu entered, village chief Old Bu was telling Mu Hao about the heroic story of Muyu killing the flood dragon with warm wine. That voice was so impassioned that it made people feel as if they were there. Even Mu Tianhe and Mu Zixing couldn't help but stop to listen. Just as Muyu was about to speak, Mu Tianhe hurriedly said, "Wait, let's finish the story." Muyu was embarrassed. What made him feel the most helpless was that Muyu was still listening attentively. His face was full of yearning, and he was deeply attracted by village chief Old Bu's story. Next, let's talk about how Muyu passed 6 trials and killed 7 generals. Speaking of which, village chief Old Bu finished one story and was preparing for the next one. However, Mu Tianhe and Mu Zixing still wanted to hear more. "Grandpa village chief, that's enough. Can we stop with the fairy tale?" Muyu interrupted village chief Old Bu's speech. This story was too evil, and it had nothing to do with him at all. "Muyu, you're back? I'm telling your little brother about your glorious deeds." Village chief Old Bu stood up from his chair happily. This, Grandpa village chief, a real man doesn't boast about his past achievements. You know that I've always been a low-key person, so let's not talk about these little stories. Muyu knew that village chief Old Bu's stories could fool 3-year-olds, but not cultivators. He was afraid that it would affect his image in the eyes of his family. However, Mu Hao asked in amazement, "Brother, did you really go to the demon race alone?" The heavenly sword was so angry that it pierced through the clouds and killed the flood dragon at the tribulation passing stage with its sword aura. You helped the demon race get rid of the evil and return peace to the demon race. Muyu was stunned for a moment. That's not right. The village head's version of the story seems to be much more realistic than the ridiculous children's story of 3 white chicken spirits. He said uncertainly, "I think so." Xiao Shuai interrupted casually. "What do you mean by maybe?" "Let me tell you, it's true. At that time, Muyu and I each had a sword and fought against the 4 leaders of the demon race together. We were fearless in the face of danger and killed 2 leaders of the dragon race in succession. It was I who led Muyu to liberate the entire demon race. Come on, I'll tell you the details." Then the little faker pulled Mu Hao aside and continued his speech. The little faker had learned the true teachings of the old faker. He was full of confidence, and his momentum was not inferior to the old faker's at all. Muyu remembered that he had brought his family here, so he said to village chief Old Bu, "Grandpa village chief, let me introduce them to you. They are my family." Mu Tianhe and Mu Zixing were listening to Xiao Shuai's story. Hearing Muyu's words, they quickly greeted village chief Old Bu politely and got to know each other. "Mr. Old Bu, thank you for taking care of Muyu all those years. It was our dereliction of duty, and we made a big mistake. Thank you very much." Mu Tianhe sincerely bowed. Village chief Old Bu waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter. We are all happy to see Muyu become successful. He's a good boy. If it weren't for your mistake, I wouldn't have known Muyu." Mu Tianhe smiled awkwardly. It had always been a hurdle in his heart that he had caused Muyu to lead a wandering life. He did not expect that village chief Old Bu would let it go so easily. Village chief Old Bu also realized that he had said something wrong in a moment of happiness. He quickly smiled and said, "What I mean is that Muyu missed his family very much when he was young. Now that he has found them, it is naturally a good thing that he has fulfilled his wish. Now we all need to rely on Muyu's protection. Everything depends on Muyu's wishes." Old Mister is right. Mu Tianhe bowed. Mu Zixing was also very grateful to village chief Old Bu. His son was raised by someone else, and he could not escape the blame. Mu Zixing thought of Muyu's story and said with a smile, We don't know what happened to Muyu outside. Old mister, you know better than us. It seems that we have neglected our duty. Not all. I watched Muyu grow up. When he was young, he would hide in my arms when there was thunder. When he grew up, I still needed his protection. If you want to know what Muyu did before, you can come to me anytime. I will tell you. Village Chief Old Boo said cheerfully. Grandpa Village Chief, wait a moment. I have something to discuss with you. Muyu quickly stopped Village Chief Old Boo from exaggerating. He did not want him to blow his cover. It would be even worse if he tried to explain. Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing smiled and said, Then we won't disturb you. I will go ask little Hao. It seems that he has heard a lot. Mu Tianhe and Mu Zhixing smiled and waved Mu Hao away. Muyu asked helplessly, Grandpa Village Chief, the story you told Mu Hao just now seems to have changed? Village Chief Old Boo said proudly, Of course. I am half a cultivator now. Of course the story has to keep up with the times. I have already revised the first version of the legend of Muyu and made some deletions and additions. It is all thanks to Master Lu. He told me in detail how you helped the Array faction defeat the Talisman Grandmaster and became the leader of the Array Talisman School. He told me in detail how you were tricked by the Stargate and how you saved Master Lu from the zombies. In the battle with Sikong Chiwen, you killed Shadow, Killer Ming Ming. You even went to the demon race and killed a few dragons. This time you went out and destroyed 3 of the 8 gates. Hurry up and tell Grandpa Village all the details so that I can write it in. Village Chief Old Boo shook a new book in his hand and chuckled. Every time Grandpa Village Chief wrote a book for Muyu, Muyu felt guilty because the main character of the story was about to fly into the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. He hurriedly took the book and looked it over for himself. The book was simple and elegant. The cover was brown and made from the skin of a 7th-order demon beast, the white-faced tiger. No cultivator below the body fusion stage could leave a mark on the cover. At the moment, the words The Legend of Muyu were written in flamboyant calligraphy. It was Village Chief Old Boo's handwriting. It was very handsome and carefree. Muyu could recognize it at a glance. He opened the book. It was written very well. The introduction on the front page said, This book would like to thank Master Lu. He provided first-hand information about Muyu and made a great contribution to publicizing Muyu's great achievements. Muyu's face turned red again. Why did he feel indescribably ashamed? After flipping through a few chapters, Muyu was even more dumbfounded. This book was actually a hardcover with illustrations. Those illustrations were engraved with formations. As long as one touched it lightly, it would bring people into an illusion. Muyu clicked on the illustration of warm wine slaying flood dragon. He personally saw his own imposing figure killing a great Mang flood dragon with a sword. The sword energy was unstoppable. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Mountains were toppled and seas were turned upside down. The illusion was so vivid that it was hard to tell if it was real or fake. Wow, even Muyu himself believed it. How is it? Master Lu and I wrote this new version of The Legend of Muyu when we were free. We haven't finished it yet, only half of it. Let me tell you, this is a limited edition. There are too many illusionary illustrations. Master Lu personally wrote it, so it is impossible to mass publish it. Village Chief Old Boo said proudly. He was very satisfied with the new book he wrote. Chapter 1039. Such a high-level illusion formation must have come from Master Lu's hands. He didn't think that Master Lu and Village Chief Old Boo would come up with such a strange thing after he left for a while. Master Lu just happened to walk in from outside and said with a smile, Muyu, Village Chief Old Boo has always wanted to write a book, so he asked me to make a few illusion formations. I used the Talisman Grandmaster's talisman techniques as a reference and engraved the illusion formations on the highest level talisman paper. Then I bound it up. How is it? Is it okay? Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of course it was okay. The previous version of Muyu's Legend of the Hero was the mortal version. Flying around on a flying sword was enough to scare a bunch of little brats. But this time, Village Chief Old Boo changed the story of Muyu's Legend of the Hero. It was already the cultivation version. Fighting was a mix of sword chi and formation techniques. Magical weapons flew everywhere, and even cultivators had to believe in it. But why did Muyu still feel a little ashamed in her heart? Old Lu, did you draw an illusion of me? Little Shuai heard that Muyu's legend of the hero was updated again and ran overexcitedly. He grabbed Master Lu's hand and asked innocently. He had always wanted village chief Old Bu to write Little Shuai's heroic legend of facing death with equanimity, but village chief Old Bu said that it was better to write Little Shuai's story in Muyu's legend of the hero. Now that Master Lu was helping to draw the illustrations, he definitely wouldn't be content. Master Lu smiled and nodded. Yes, of course. I even included the zombie incident in the Sand Eagle Palace. But most of it was just my imagination. If you're not satisfied with the illusion, I can change it. That's good. We relied on plants versus zombies last time. We fought that thing that looked like a pig and a horse in the underground. Wait, I want to see it too. Xiao Shuai floated beside Muyu in satisfaction, his little hand constantly pointing at the illustrations of the illusion array. In the past few days, Muyu and Zhuge Shaoxing have left the array faction to destroy the Stargate and the Gate of Hell. Master Lu and village chief Old Bu have been sitting in the array hall, analyzing the situation in the cultivation world and making appropriate responses. But in their spare time, village chief Old Bu can't sit still and write a book with Master Lu. One made the story while the other drew the illustrations. The division of labor was clear, and the 2.0 version of Muyu's Legend of the Hero was unparalleled and invincible. Muyu returned the half-finished book to Chief Old Bu. He decided not to get involved in this matter. No matter how much he objected, he couldn't stop Chief Old Bu from writing Muyu's Legend of the Brave World version 2.0. Since Chief Old Bu liked to exaggerate, he didn't mind. Speaking of which, it felt good to have someone write a biography for him. Muyu, you came back at the right time. I was just about to discuss with you about the future of the cultivation world. Village Chief Old Bu is now in high spirits because the situation in the cultivation world is now going according to his expectations. At first, he was just casually guessing the direction of the cultivation world according to his own ideas, but he didn't expect things to develop in an orderly manner like he said. Now, because of the destruction of the Red Dust Sect, Stargate, and the Gate of Hell, the cultivation world is once again in turmoil. With his guidance, the entire Array faction now listens to Chief Old Bu's orders. Chief Old Bu sends people from the Array faction to spread all kinds of news from time to time. Now, all kinds of rumors are spreading in the cultivation world. Muyu, do you know what the cultivation world is talking about now? Chief Old Bu has a relaxed look on his face. He is now more and more confident in his prediction of the situation. Xiao Shuai jumped into Chief Old Bu's arms, pulled his beard, and urged, Old Faker, don't keep me in suspense. Tell me quickly. Chief Old Bu pinched Xiao Shuai's little face and said cheerfully, Little guy, why are you in such a hurry? When you went out this time, you destroyed the Red Dust Sect, Stargate, and the Gate of Hell, especially the Gate of Hell and the Red Dust Sect. These two sects were completely destroyed. Those self-cultivators originally placed their hopes on the 8 gates, but now the cultivation world is spreading the news that the Stargate and the Gate of Hell had an internal conflict. The Red Dust sect stood on the side of the Stargate. In the end, the Gate of Hell destroyed the Red Dust sect and the Stargate, and the Gate of Hell was also destroyed. Not only that, there are some other news, such as the Life and Death sect also participated in this matter. The Earthly Emperor sect and the Profound Spirit sect had a dispute because of Yaman, and the Jade sect went to the Gate of Hell to avenge the Red Dust sect. Old Faker, why are these rumors so exaggerated? Won't the other sects come out to refute the rumors? Xiao Shuai asked, puzzled. Village Chief Old Bu said mysteriously, Little one, do you want me to say that you're still not good enough at fooling people? Xiao Shuai curled his lips. He knew how to talk nonsense, but he didn't know how to set up a trap. Muyu laughed. Anyway, our original purpose was to stir up the cultivation world. When the 8 gates were not in trouble, it was hard for people to believe in rumors. But now that 3 of the 8 gates were destroyed, most people don't know the whole story. Plus, Yaman's threat, So now everyone is listening to the wind and listening to the rain. Any random rumor is enough to disturb people's hearts and cause an uproar. Even if the other 5 sects want to clarify it, it's no longer persuasive. Everyone will think that the other 5 sects are trying to cover it up. Otherwise, how can psychological tactics be used to win by surprise? Village Chief Old Boo happily picked up the teapot and drank a mouthful of tea. Muyu is right. The 8 gates can't even take care of themselves, and the self-cultivators are beginning to doubt their leadership ability. They now understand the importance of Xian immortals. Village Chief Old Boo excitedly told them about the recent events in the cultivation world. After the Red Dust Gate, the Gate of Hell, and Stargate were destroyed, Village Chief Old Boo sent people to each city as a stronghold to spread the news that only 9 Xian immortals can save the cultivation world. It could be said that the battle between the Xian immortals was pushed to the peak. This was the result that Muyu wanted. Although there were some accidents when they went to destroy the Gate of Hell and Stargate, they still managed to achieve the plan without any mishaps. The threefold palace doesn't dare to show their faces, and the 8 gates can't even protect themselves. At this time, we just need to add fuel to the fire, and we can easily take the initiative. Then we should think of a way to gather all the extreme immortals to the extreme immortal steel. Muyu nodded. Village Chief Old Boo stroked his beard and asked, Muyu, what do you want to do? Muyu thought for a moment and said, due to some misgivings, the threefold palace can't confirm the time of the extreme immortal steel. Then we'll confirm it. We'll release the conditions for opening the extreme immortal steel. As long as we can gather 2/3 of the extreme immortals to the extreme immortal steel, it'll be enough to start the selection of the 9 Xian immortals. We'll first confirm the time of the gathering, and then it'll be time for the Pill Cauldron School to show their power. The Pill Cauldron School has suffered such a huge loss. How can they still show their power? Xiao Shuai asked. Muyu smiled. No matter how much the Pill Cauldron School has suffered, they're still alchemists. A level 7 pill is enough to make them go crazy. As long as they used a level 7 pill as a lead and released the news, it would cause a huge uproar whether they were extreme immortals or not. The self-cultivators would also spread the news to the other extreme immortals. If they could get a level 7 pill, it would be much more valuable than the magic treasures provided by the 8 gates. Xiao Shuai asked again. Then when will the gathering be? Village Chief Old Boo said without hesitation. The 8th of October. Xiao Shuai asked curiously. Why the 8th of October? Is there any special meaning to that day? No, I just randomly decided it. Who said that the date has to have a special meaning? Village Chief Old Boo laughed. Muyu knew that Village Chief Old Boo didn't randomly decide the date. Village Chief Old Boo had a clear view of the entire situation. He focused on many factors, including the best time to spread the news, how long the self-cultivators needed to adapt to the situation, and also the reaction time of the threefold palace. Everything was in Village Chief Old Boo's mind. The 8th of October, this meant that there were still 2 months left. Muyu suddenly thought of something and said, Grandpa Village Chief, this time a 9th layer tribulation passing expert from the Gate of Life and Death is in our race sect. How much information did you find about the Gate of Life and Death? He told Village Chief Old Boo about Jiangyu in detail. If possible, he needed to borrow Jiangyu's power to deal with the Gate of Life and Death. Village Chief Old Boo stroked his beard and pondered for a moment before saying, the Gate of Life and Death is as strange as the Gate of Hell. They both have twins, so they definitely have twin corpse C or twin soul C. This time, the Gate of Hell was exterminated because of the destruction of twin corpse C. After the people from the Gate of Life and Death know about this, they will definitely increase the protection of their twin corpse C or twin soul C. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to exterminate the Gate of Life and Death. Muyu couldn't help but admit that Village Chief Old Boo had considered everything thoroughly. It was unrealistic to use the same method twice. This time, the threefold palace might be waiting for Muyu and Jiangyu at the Gate of Life and Death. Even though the two of them were very strong together, the threefold palace would definitely send out Great Ascension experts this time. Great ascension experts had domain abilities and were far from what tribulation-passing experts could deal with. That's right, I also found a strange place. Village Chief Oldbu moved the map over. This map was carved with an array. No matter if it was the mountains or rivers, they were all very realistic. Even a tree on the mountain could shake. This map used an illusion array to depict the overall appearance of the threefold continent. Were the cities and the distribution of the 8 gates. Everything was there. It was a treasure passed down from the formation sect a long time ago. Village Chief Old Boo's hand swept across the map, and the map was quickly shrunk. His finger pointed at certain places a few times, and some markings appeared on the map. Connect these red dots together. What did you find? Xiao Shui turned his head and shouted, I know. Connected together, it looks like a big sesame seed cake. Muyu knocked on Xiao Shui's head and carefully observed the map. He said in astonishment, it's an 8 trigrams array. Village Chief Olbu nodded. That's right, I'm also quite surprised. A few days ago, when I was thinking about the stairway to heaven in the formation hall, I inadvertently deduced the 8 trigrams array onto the map. I found that the arrangement of some places on the threefold continent was very strange. Furthermore, there were a few places that you have been to before. I tried to connect them together, and I feel that the arrangement of these places in the 8 trigrams array isn't a coincidence. Chapter 1040. Village Chief Old Bu pointed at the centermost point of the 3 continents. This is the location of the extreme immortal steel, which is also the center of the 3 continents. Formation Sect and Pill Cauldron Sect are located on the 2 sides of the extreme immortal steel, which is tens of thousands of miles apart. However, don't you think that the locations of Pill Cauldron Sect and Formation Sect are like the eyes of Taiji Yin Yang? Muyu said, That's right, but why are you so sure about these 8 red dots? Village Chief Old Bu said, I drew them based on the relative distance of the 8 trigrams, with Formation Sect and Pill Cauldron Sect as the center. It's just a guess of mine. Look, this dot is in the Moyun Mountain Range to our east, this dot is in the Gate of Hell to the north, this dot is in the Great Swamp of the Demon Race in the west, this is in the 50-mile Garden in the south, and that valley with the withered trees. This place should be in the direction of the sea, but I'm not very sure. I feel that these places are not simple, but I don't know where is strange. Since you have been there before, did you notice anything strange? Muyu pondered for a long time. He took the formation map and kept enlarging the terrain of the Moyun Mountain Range. Then he saw that red dot. If he enlarged it, the precise location was actually Chaotic Burial Valley. He then enlarged the terrain of the Demon Race in the west, and suddenly remembered that to cross the Great Swamp and enter the Azure Dragon Dynasty, one had to pass through a huge rift valley. Azure Dragon Monster King had set up a spell that prevented one from flying above the rift valley. Back then, it was Xiao Shui who had guided Muyu on how to cross a transparent bridge above the rift valley. At that time, Muyu had even said that this rift valley looked a little similar to Chaotic Burial Valley. At the bottom of Chaotic Burial Valley was the crack of the world, and one could clearly see the spatial barrier that had been sealed by Muyu's master. After Muyu entered the Gate of Hell, he went all the way down from the ghost pit and saw another sealed spatial barrier. It was also set up by his master. How can there be such a coincidence? Muyu was astonished. What's wrong? Village Chief Olbu asked. Muyu said solemnly, It's a crack that belongs to the world. My master has set up a powerful seal. He looked towards the northeast because the Moyun Mountain Range was on the east side of the continent, and there was a vast sea to the east. However, he clearly remembered seeing a rift valley in the sea. Little Commander, do you know that we were stranded on an island and were chased by sea flame beasts? Then Xiao Shui brought us to a waterfall and we fell into a bottomless abyss? Muyu asked. The young sea flame beasts that were born in volcanoes chased after them. The adult sea flame beasts were very protective of their young, so they chased after them. Xiao Shui blinked. Oh, that's where we found the holy road to the Demon Island. Muyu pointed at the map and said, If I'm not wrong, That abyss is the northeast direction of this 8 trigrams. If we go deep underground, it's very likely that we'll find a crack to another world. Maybe Master has set up some kind of seal there. So you're saying that there are seals in the Withered Tree Valley and the 50-mile garden in the south? But we didn't see it. Xiao Shui asked. Muyu said, in my opinion, there's probably a seal under the river in Elder Father's Valley, and the Luing Garden in the south could also be the entrance to the seal. Muyu was very familiar with the valley. He had stayed there for a long time, but he had never explored the bottom of the valley. If there really was a spatial barrier and something was sealed there, perhaps Deadwood's father was guarding it. Muyu's father was there. In the 50-mile garden in the south, Siebu Lao is in charge, and in the valley, my father is in charge. I don't think it's a coincidence that they are here. Could it be that there are other formations in this world other than the immortal confining prison? Could it be that these sealing formations have some other purpose? Muyu fell into deep thought. If Master wanted to protect the 3 continents from the invasion of alien races from other worlds, it was possible that he had set up some powerful protective formations. This was also the reason why Bai Jie didn't dare to make a move openly. As the master of the 3 palaces, Bai Jie was very powerful. If he wanted to collect souls, he could kill people silently. There was no need for him to play tricks. However, Bai Jie hadn't shown himself yet. Instead, he had gone to great lengths to encourage Yumon to fight with the humans. Now, his reputation had been ruined by Muyu. It was likely that he had some misgivings. According to the 8 trigrams formation, I've also marked out a few other places for you. Let's take a look. The 8 directions of the 8 trigrams formation are Mayun Mountain Range, Isolated Island in the Sea, the Gate of Hell, Withered Tree Valley, and the entrance to the demon race. This place is a barren forest. Next is the garden in the south and the mountain range near Penglian City. The remaining 2 are our Array faction and the Pill Cauldron sect. Muyu had already visited 6 of these places, intentionally or unintentionally. Only the barren forest and Penglianqing's side had not been visited. So, were these 8 places really as he thought? Did they all have an underground crack? If so, what do these 8 seals mean? Little Commander, last time we went to Mass Gray Valley and the Gate of Hell. Do you have any impression of the seals there? Muyu asked. Little Commander sat on the chair and put his feet on the table. He thought for a moment and said, "It feels very familiar. Isn't the seal there very mysterious? Do you think there's a monster sealed in each place? For example, Akatsuki or that old devil?" Little Commander's guess was very likely correct, but Muyu couldn't be sure. He had no clue what his master had done in the past. He could only rely on himself to find out what secrets this world was hiding. Muyu carefully thought back to the scene he had seen. The Seal of the World crack was very powerful. Even he couldn't fully understand it, but he still remembered the general outline of the formation. However, he suddenly understood why he couldn't understand this formation. The main reason was that the formation he saw wasn't a complete formation. The more Muyu thought about it, the clearer his mind became. So this was the reason. Because whether it was the formation at the bottom of Mass Gray Valley or the formation below the Gate of Hell, they were all only a part. If he wanted to fully understand this formation, he would need to recombine the formations in the 8 places. In that case, with Muyu's formation skills, he would be able to guess what the true function of this formation was. Then you mean that we have to go to these 8 places to find out about this matter? Little Shui asked curiously after listening to Muyu's explanation. Muyu calculated the formation of the 2 world cracks that he had previously recorded. After pondering for a moment, he said, "These 8 formations must be a combination formation. As long as it's a combination formation, it can be realized through deduction. But right now, the formation of the 2 places can't be completely deduced. It's hard to say how to deduce it. At the very least, we have to go to a few more places." Village Chief Oldbu sat down and stared at the map for a long time. He said, "If our deduction is correct, then Bai Jie has also noticed these problems. Could he be dealing with the seals in these 8 places right now?" Muyu recalled the matter of meeting Akatsuki in the Moyen Mountain Range. He shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. Maybe Bai Jie is also looking for the seals in these world cracks, but he didn't expect the seals to be arranged in such a way. This is because the last time we met Akatsuki, the people from the Gate of Hell found Akatsuki later than us. This means that they don't know the exact location. Otherwise, Jie would definitely have the people from the Gate of Hell receive us there a long time ago. He wouldn't let us kill Akatsuki first. Village Chief Old Boo's eyes lit up. So we still have the initiative? It's hard to say. Jie must be trying his best to find these places. It's very likely that he's using other methods to determine these places. I have to find time to go to the southern 50-mile garden. Muyu said, why not go to the valley first? Little Commander asked. I'm going to the southern 50-mile garden, mainly to bring Lanling, and the others to the erased sect. Muyu explained. The people from Luo Chin Mountain were still living in the southern 50-mile garden. Although his master had set up a powerful formation in that small courtyard, Muyu still didn't feel at ease. However, Muyu had another problem that he hadn't solved yet. What is it? Little Muyu still has something on his mind? Village Chief Old Boo could tell what Muyu was thinking. After all, he had watched Muyu grow up. If Muyu had something on his mind, it wouldn't escape Village Chief Old Boo's eyes. Xiao Shuai gloated. Old faker, Muyu has abducted 2 beautiful sisters. Now the 2 sisters have come to propose marriage. He is racking his brains over how to find an excuse to evade them. Muyu spread his hands and stared at Little Commander. He curled his lips and said, can you blame me? Is it up to me to decide who likes me? I'm lucky. Anyone can like me. Okay? Little Commander snorted and said, you're just basking in my light. Okay? My handsomeness infected you. Shameless. Muyu scolded. You're about the same. Little Commander made a face. Muyu then asked Village Chief Old Boo, Grandpa Village Chief, how do you think I should explain it to Tianran? He realized that he could be brave and fearless when fighting with fierce enemies, but when facing love, he became a little slow. Xiao Shui and Tianran were both good girls. He didn't want to let either of them down. Village Chief Old Boo tilted his head and said regretfully, I don't have any experience. Little Commander asked doubtfully, Old faker, you've lived for so long, but I've never heard you mention a wife. Have you been single your whole life? Village Chief Old Boo said, Sire, my wife died early. It's a pity that I don't have any children. But fortunately, it's not bad to take care of a lot of children in the village. Not to mention that my little Muyu is so promising. I'm content with what I have. Muyu hadn't heard the village chief mention his wife. The village chief had lived for more than 100 years. He had an immortal body, but his wife was an ordinary person. It was normal that she couldn't withstand the passage of time. Muyu said with a smile, Grandpa, don't you plan to find another person? You have an immortal body. Give birth to a lot of little Boo, little Boo, little Boo. You'll have stories to tell all day long. Chapter 1041. Pretend to have amnesia. Just say that you mistook Xiao Shui for Tianran when you were with her. Xiao Shui suggested. Then the next time you meet Xiao Shui, are you going to say that you mistook Tianran for Xiao Shui when you were with Tianran? Well, you didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Who asked you to be greedy and fine too? You're asking for a beating. Is that the point? Isn't it? Can't you learn from me? Look at how loyal I am. Yeah, your little Mo is indeed loyal to you. We agreed not to talk about little Mo. Muyu, why don't you tell Tianran that the White Ape Demon King wanted to be your father-in-law because of your talent? That's how you became in-laws. After all, you're a good boy in the eyes of the elders and a model husband in the eyes of the girls, right? Village Chief Old Boo was very satisfied with Muyu. He didn't even blink when praising Muyu. Every time Village Chief Old Boo praised Muyu, Muyu would feel inexplicably shy. He nodded and said, Grandpa Village Chief, you know me the best. But Old Hairy Monkey has always wanted to be my in-law. He always wants to take advantage of me. On the contrary, Old Hairy Monkey hates Muyu. He always wants to scold Muyu. Xiao Shui snickered. He's crazy. Whether I like Xiao Shui or not has nothing to do with him. He's as anxious as a monkey. He's a monkey, a big white ape. Muyu stayed at village chief Olbu's place for a long time. He discussed all kinds of explanations with village chief Olbu and Xiao Shuai, but most of them were rejected by Muyu. Village chief Olbu could always predict the future of the cultivation world, but when it came to this kind of problem, he couldn't do anything. He didn't have any experience in relationships, so most of his suggestions in this regard were unrealistic. Xiao Shuai was very devoted to food, so his suggestions would only be a hindrance to Muyu. The three indecent fellows discussed for a long time, but couldn't come to a conclusion. In the end, after thinking about it, Muyu felt that it was better to tell the truth. At least it would show more sincerity. I think Tian Ran will be touched by my honesty. Everyone likes honest young men, Muyu said, stroking his chin. Xiao Shuai curled his lips and said, "Forget it. Only those who are handsome can be trusted. Take me, for example. You can't do that." Muyu really wanted to beat the narcissistic Xiao Shuai to death. Honesty is a virtue, but sometimes a white lie is better. It's already dark. If you don't go back now, they'll be worried. You should go back quickly. Don't let Tian Ran wait for too long. Village chief Olbu urged. All right. After leaving the array hall, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse in the sky. The night breeze was gentle, and it was especially pleasant. Muyu thought that Tian Ran should still be in the manor, so he flew towards the manor. The manor was brightly lit. Many places in the array faction were arrays, and the things that were used for illumination could be realized by arrays. When he arrived at the manor's hall, he found Mu Tianhe laughing heartily. Tian Ran seemed to be chatting happily with Mu Tianhe. "Muyu, you're back? Tian Ran and I were talking about you." Mu Tianhe walked over and patted Muyu's shoulder with a smile. "Talking about me? What did you guys talk about?" Muyu secretly glanced at Tian Ran and quickly asked. Mu Tianhe smiled and said, "It's mainly about how you guys met in the past. Muyu, you're really lucky to have found such a virtuous wife." Tian Ran giggled and said, "Grandpa, you're overpraising me." The more Mu Tianhe looked at Tian Ran, the more satisfied he was. He said, "Muyu, Tian Ran already told me not to bully Tian Ran like that in the future. Do you understand? Bully Tian Ran like that?" Muyu's face was filled with astonishment. Wait, something was wrong. When did he bully Tian Ran? Speaking of which, when did he bully Tian Ran? He was clearly the victim who was pressed against the wall every time. Who was bullying who? However, Tian Ran stuck out her tongue and said, "With Grandpa in charge, Tian Ran is much more at ease." "Thank you, Grandpa." "Huh. Don't worry. I'll talk to Muyu about it in the future. I'll be leaving first." Mu Tianhe looked at Tian Ran with joy. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. His grandson was amazing, and his granddaughter-in-law was also outstanding. As a grandfather, he was naturally happy. Now that Muyu had returned, he thought that he should have prepared an excuse, so he didn't want to get involved. Tian Ran seemed to have thought of something and said, "Grandpa, the golden lotuses I gave you are from the red dust sex Tianqi. You should take them as I say. They're very good for your body." "Okay, I'll go back and try them. I won't disturb the two of you." Mu Tianhe left with a smile. "Two of you, that's right." Muyu chuckled. Tian Ran blushed slightly and glared at Muyu. Muyu waited for Mu Tianhe to leave before asking curiously, "When did you and my grandpa become so close? What do you want him to take when he goes back?" "I'm not telling you." Tian Ran hugged little Shuai and snorted. Muyu spread his hands and didn't ask anymore. He said, "If you don't want to tell me, then forget it. Anyway, you see my family. What do you think? Grandpa is a good person, but it's hard to say if you're a good person." Tian Ran said, "I'm so considerate. Am I not a good person?" Muyu muttered. He thought about how he had been praised to the heavens by the village chief. He didn't even want to come down. He even wrote a thick book to publicize his achievements. Tian Ran pulled Muyu's ear. "I haven't settled accounts with you yet. Do you want to explain to me about the matter of the in-laws? Is your in-laws so casual?" Muyu's face was bitter. He knew that he couldn't avoid this matter, so he didn't intend to hide it. He told her about the shameless matter of the White Ape Demon King. In the end, he said seriously, I promise you that the word in-laws is just nonsense from that old hairy monkey. He's thick-skinned and likes to cause trouble. If he's thick-skinned, then what about you? Tian Ran snorted softly. Muyu touched his face. I think my skin is still relatively thin. Little Shuai and I are both good children. Yes, yes, both of us are thin-skinned people. We're the kind that can be broken by blowing and pinching. We can't stand praise. Little Shuai said in Tian Ran's arms. He stretched out a small hand and pinched his small face. It was rare for him to be shy. Muyu held back his laughter and puffed out his chest. He agreed with Little Shuai's words. Tian Ran sat on a chair and said curiously, "It doesn't matter. I don't care about those things. Now that I've seen your family, shouldn't the two of us do something further?" Do something further? Muyu was stunned. His brain didn't turn for a moment. The wife had seen the family. What was the next step? Wasn't this too straightforward? When did Tian Ran become so straightforward? Was this still the cute and innocent girl he knew? Little Shuai also exclaimed, "Tian Ran, do you want to do something further with Muyu? What else? Do you want to wait?" Tian Ran said with a shrug. Her expression was quite serious. Muyu said a little uneasily, "I have no objections, but why did you suddenly?" Little Shuai also shouted, "Yes. Isn't it too sudden? How can you say in front of me that you want to do something shameful with Muyu?" Muyu wished he could strangle this blabbermouth to death. This kind of guy should be drowned in a pig cage for 8 to 10 days. Tian Ran grabbed Little Shuai's ear and said, "What shameful thing? Who wants to do something shameful with him? I'm saying that we should deal with the matters of the cultivation world. 3 of the 8 sects have been destroyed. Don't tell me you don't want to do something further? Weren't you discussing this matter with the village head grandpa just now? Don't tell me you weren't discussing the matters of the cultivation world." "Oh, it's this matter. Like I said, yes, we were seriously discussing the matters of the cultivation world with the village head grandpa just now." "Little Shuai, what nonsense are you thinking? Look at what is in your little head all day. You've been led astray by Shimen Wuji. If you read those pornographic books in the future, I won't forgive you." Muyu promptly pretended to criticize Little Shuai and then cast his gaze elsewhere. Tian Ran suspiciously looked at Muyu and said, "Did you have the same thoughts as Little Shuai just now?" Muyu coughed twice and said in all seriousness, No. How could I think of those things? What I mean is, right now, we need to recuperate. The following matters are all in the plan. Don't worry, I'm a good youth. Okay, after you left Luo Chin Mountain, you've also become bad. You're really thinking about this matter." Tian Ran angrily interrupted Muyu's words. With a glance, she knew that Muyu had a guilty conscience. Muyu hastily said, "How could that be? I'm different from Little Shuai. Little Shuai isn't serious, but I'm very serious. I don't have any improper thoughts about you." "What do you mean?" When Tian Ran heard Muyu's words, she seemed to be even angrier. She glared at Muyu and put her hands on her waist. "You don't have improper thoughts about me? Then you only have improper thoughts about Xiao Shui, right? Don't tell me you don't have any thoughts about me." Muyu opened his mouth, but he was speechless from Tian Ran's words. What did Tian Ran mean? Why did she sound so sour? Did she eat sour plums? Why did her tone change when she mentioned Xiao Shui? However, when Muyu looked at Tian Ran's innocent appearance, her clear eyes clearly reflected Muyu's appearance. He could even see his own eyelashes in her eyes. His heart rapidly beat in his chest, as if he had returned to the time when he was young and ignorant. Under a tree in Luo Chun Mountain, Tian Ran taught Muyu the tree thump technique. The pitiful banyan tree was hit by Tian Ran's fist until it trembled and its leaves fell to the ground. The sky gradually darkened, and the moon climbed up the branches. Muyu didn't know where his courage came from, but he suddenly pulled Tian Ran and ran towards the array hall. As he ran, he said, "You're right. We've already met family, so of course we have to take the next step. Let's go and turn our improper thoughts into reality." "What are you talking about? What improper thoughts into reality?" Tian Ran anxiously asked. Her face was almost completely red, and her heart was still thumping. She didn't understand why Muyu was pulling her away. Of course it's to sleep in the same bed and have a good dream together, Muyu said without turning his head. Just like little Shuai said, since it wasn't the first time he was acting like a pervert, he might as well go all the way. I haven't decided if I want to. Forget it, forget it. By the time you decide, the sky will be bright. We have to hurry. Little Shuai excitedly chased after them. Great, I also want to sleep in your bed. I'll sleep in the middle. Chapter 1042. The morning sun shone on the Array sect, and the entire Array sect was covered with a layer of vigorous brilliance. Muyu opened his eyes. The girl in his arms was still sleeping, and her long eyelashes looked particularly charming. He climbed out of the bed, covered Tian Ran with a quilt, then put on his clothes and walked out. Xiao Shuai was tricked by Muyu into sleeping at village chief Old Boo's place with a roast pig last night. Otherwise, he would definitely say that he wanted to stay in their room to join in the fun. Muyu stretched lazily and went to the highest mountain of the Array sect. Looking at the sun in the east, he ran the falling dust sutra. He opened his eyes and was surprised to find that his cultivation seemed to be one step closer. Strange. My cultivation will improve greatly when I cultivate with a girl. Muyu felt that this world was really full of surprises. Now that his cultivation had reached the 6th layer of the crossing tribulation stage, he was already a top master in the ordinary sects of the cultivation world. However, he understood that when facing the Mayana stage of the threefold palace, his strength was still not enough. You were already prepared to die, so why did you choose to be so close to that girl? Don't you think you are very selfish? Gomong's voice suddenly sounded in Muyu's mind. Muyu sat on the stone and looked at the appearance of the entire Array sect. He asked, "Then what do you think I should do?" "You should leave her and let her find someone who loves her more than you," Gomong said. Muyu shook his head and calmly replied, "In this world, except for her parents, no one will like her more than me. Since you like her, you should think for her and be willing to let her go. Now, you should deliberately alienate her and let her gradually become disheartened with you and leave her. If you're cruel now, you won't make her sad in the future," Gomong said. Muyu smiled slightly. This logic is too stupid. She has no one to rely on now. If I alienate her now and leave her, where will she go? Wandering around the cultivation world and then being caught by the threefold palace? In the future, after I find a way to save Master and resurrect Deadwood Daddy, they will take care of her for me. At that time, when I leave, at least she will have someone to rely on. Gomong was silent for a moment, then said, "Then you shouldn't have done that with her and let her have expectations. What does that have to do with you?" Muyu had purposely blocked Gomong's consciousness last night to prevent him from getting involved. "You and I are one." Gomong's voice sounded very annoyed. Today's Muyu was no longer the youth in the Moyen Mountain range who could be easily disturbed by him. Gomong's current consciousness could not fight against Muyu. Last night, he had been rudely suppressed by Muyu without even saying goodbye. He was still brooding over it. Muyu stretched out his hand and gently swept through the crevices of the rocks. The pine grass in the crevices of the cliff bloomed with vitality. This kind of grass was extremely tenacious and could grow even in the cold peaks. He looked at the pine grass tender leaf shaking off the morning dew, then laughed. "This is probably the difference between you and me." Gomong and Xianming relied on each other, resulting in subtle feelings between Muyu and Xiao Shui. However, Muyu knew that if it were not for the influence of Gomong and Xianming, he would only like Tianran. However, it was hard to say who was right and who was wrong when it came to fate. Since it had happened, Muyu did not like to avoid anything. Although he had chosen his fate, people had to experience life and death. No matter how much they loved each other, there would be a day when they had to leave each other. Muyu just wanted to get along with tranquility before he left. Gomong did not speak again, and Muyu was too lazy to say anything. He walked down the mountain and returned to the Array Hall, arriving at Village Chief Old Boo's place. Village Chief Old Boo had woken up very early and was eating breakfast. When he saw Muyu, he hurriedly called Muyu over. "Last night, Little Handsome told me that it's good to be young." Village Chief Old Bull laughed and took a bite of the sesame seed cake. He had cooked this cake himself. Now, in the array hall, Muyu had specially opened up a space for him to cook for Village Chief Old Boo. Village Chief Old Boo was a mortal, so he needed to eat breakfast. Grandpa, low-key, low-key. Muyu chuckled as he picked up a sesame seed cake and ate it with soy milk. He turned his head and saw Little Handsome, who had turned into a naughty child, sleeping soundly on Village Chief Old Boo's bed. He had even kicked the blanket off the bed. He found it funny and shouted, "Time to eat! Time to eat! Time to eat!" Little Handsome sleepily crawled up and staggered towards them. Midway, he almost tripped over the blanket. He then sat on the chair and yawned. The smell of the sesame seed cake made Little Handsome open his eyes. Little Handsome quickly got rid of his sleepiness and began to eat. "I like to eat the old faker's sesame seed cake," Little Handsome said with his mouth full. "I like it too. I grew up eating Grandpa's sesame seed cake." Muyu also stuffed his mouth full. He had not eaten a good meal for a long time. Village Chief Old Bull looked at the two of them happily and said with a smile, "If you like it, I'll make it for you every day." "Grandpa, do I have a share?" Tian Ran also walked in from outside. She was wearing a green dress today and looked like a green flower fairy. She was witty and cute. "Yes, yes." Village Chief Old Boo quickly got up and went to the kitchen to get another plate. Tian Ran also sat around the table and picked up her chopsticks. Golden Spirit Force covered the chopsticks and cut the sesame seed cake into small pieces. Then she picked up a piece of sesame seed cake and slowly ate it. Muyu looked at Tian Ran's elegant way of eating and then looked at Village Chief Old Boo and Little Handsome, who were eating the sesame seed cake with their hands. He also looked at his own casual way of eating and said, "Tian Ran, this is not like your style of eating. You used to eat with us at Luochen Mountain in a hurry." When they were at Luochen Mountain, everyone had to compete with each other when eating. They would fight with their chopsticks on the table and desperately fight for the food cooked by their master. If they were too slow, they would have to eat and choose food. Therefore, everyone ate casually. Tian Ran was very lively and cheerful. It was impossible for her to be well-behaved. "Isn't that different? Now I want to be more ladylike," Tian Ran said seriously. Muyu took another sip of soy milk and curled his lips. "You became ladylike after sleeping? Didn't you say that you can't be ladylike?" Tian Ran used to say that her mother wanted her to be ladylike, but she couldn't change. Tian Ran glanced at Muyu and blushed. "Wouldn't it be bad if I'm too casual when eating with your family? Tian Ran is already the daughter-in-law of your Mu family. People are worried that your family will dislike her," Village Chief Old Boo reminded. "Grandpa, you're also Muyu's family. Please don't dislike me," Tian Ran said with a red face. No, I don't dislike you. I'm not from a rich family. I don't even look good when eating. How can I dislike you?" Village Chief Old Boo waved his hand. Muyu snickered. "Tian Ran, you'd better do what you're supposed to. Grandpa didn't make too many sesame seed cakes. Xiao Shuai has already eaten 5. He's staring at your bowl. I'm hungry." Xiao Shuai blinked his big eyes and said pitifully. Village Chief Old Boo laughed. "Little one, I know you have a big appetite. I specially made a lot this morning. I'll get more for you." Tian Ran held her chin and asked, "Muyu, you won't leave me, right?" Muyu was stunned. "Why do you ask?" Tian Ran shook her head. "I don't know. I always feel a little uneasy. Now that my parents are missing, I don't want anything to happen to you." Muyu held Tian Ran's hand and said seriously, "I won't. Before I find your parents, nothing will happen to me. Don't worry." Tian Ran nodded and then said with a red face, Last night, we had a good dream together," Muyu said as if nothing had happened. Xiao Shuai shouted, "Tonight, I'm going to sleep in the same bed as Tian Ran. Muyu will sleep on the floor. Go play in the mud," Muyu said in a bad mood. Nowadays, everywhere in the cultivation world, people were in a panic. Even if they stayed in their own sex, they were extremely uneasy. When they went out, they had to go in groups and didn't dare to go to places where there was no one. Pill Cauldron Sex Territory, Pill City, 4 Seas is home in. 4 Seas is home and was originally one of the Pill Cauldron sex businesses. However, a few months ago, the Pill Cauldron sect's Taoist Yuanda was attacked by Yuman on his way back. This caused the entire Pill Cauldron sect to close down and no longer involve themselves in the cultivation world. Therefore, many of the Pill Cauldron sect businesses were forced to close down. The Four Seas is home and was originally closed, but in the past few days, this largest inn in Pill City had suddenly reopened for business. Furthermore, it brought with it an exciting piece of news. The Pill Cauldron sect was prepared to reward the extreme immortals with 9 7th-grade medicinal pills, 100 6th-grade medicinal pills, and 1,000 5th-grade medicinal pills to help fight against the Youngling demons. However, the prerequisite was that all the extreme immortals had to gather at the Extreme Immortal Steel on the 8th of October. The steel would then be activated and the 9 Shin immortals would be chosen. This news caused a sensation in the cultivation world. No one expected the Pill Cauldron sect to stand up at this time and offer such a generous reward. In the face of Yuman's wanton behavior, the Triple Palace's refusal to show up, and the 8 Gates' prestige was lost, the Extreme Immortals had undoubtedly become everyone's hope. Four Seas is home and was extremely lively these past few days. Many cultivators had gathered at this inn, preparing to find out more about the Extreme Immortals and the Pill Cauldron sect. Have you heard? 2 cities have already been destroyed by the Earth Yuman and Fire Yuman. The Earth Yuman and Fire Yuman? That's right. They ended up in the same situation as the Red Dust sect. Moreover, it's said that the 8 Gates suffered the most casualties in these 2 cities. Not only that, but the sects that helped the 8 Gates also suffered heavy losses. A while ago, the 8 Gates led us to defeat Yuman. Now, Yuman is planning to take revenge on the 8 Gates. The Star Gate was destroyed, and the Gate of Hell and the Red Dust sect were uprooted. It seems like we have to draw a clear line with the 8 Gates. That's right. Now, our only hope is the 9 mystic immortals on the Extreme Immortal Leaderboard. The Pill Cauldron sect didn't expect to appear at this time. What a timely reign. I heard that the Array sect is also planning to build a solid fortress and use arrays to resist the Yuman. Four Seas is home and was bustling with people. While everyone was resting, they would also pass on the latest news to each other. Many people would ask the manager of the Four Seas is home and more about the Pill Cauldron sect's current situation. Unfortunately, the manager wasn't very clear. He was only responsible for receiving orders and had never been to the Pill Cauldron sect. Everyone was still unwilling to give up. However, the news of the Extreme Immortals gathering on the 8th of October had already spread throughout the cultivation world. The pills provided by the Pill Cauldron sect were too tempting, so many Extreme Immortals remember the date. The 8th of October. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.